And good evening, my lovely lost tales, and welcome back to the Blue Rose Respite for my soothing Sunday night stream. I hope you're all doing well tonight as we continue the tale of When the Night Comes. I am so in love with this game and all of our absolutely gorgeous potential love interests. So yes, if you weren't with us last week, this is a visual novel with supernatural romance in it, and there's also mystery going on at the same time. And just for clarity, we are flirting with everyone. I'm not going in any particular path. I'm just going with the choices that my gut tells me, and we'll see where it goes from there. Alrighty, here we are, yes. Okay, so, makeup is fire tonight, Steph. Thank you so much. Like, I was, putting, my makeup on, and I did a little bit of the extra eyeliner last stream, but I was like, you know what, I want to, like, just experiment with a bit of color, put something on, a bit more on my face, and I was thinking what options I had, and I was like, oh, I've got red eyeshadow, I've got darker shades as well, I don't have purple though, and then I had a brainwave of, yes, I do have purple eyeshadow. So I'm not the most proficient at doing makeup or even like blending everything, but I'm like just like, this is a pretty color, I'm just gonna put all the pretty colors on my face. So, and then kind of with the mindset of we're going into this festival, I was like, okay, this is my character's makeup for the festival kind of thing. But a huge thank you to the amazing, as always, Scarlet Novella for the 37th month resub. Scarlet, I love you so much, sweetie. You're an amazing friend, a fantastic mod, and I love you so much. Thank you so much for the support and for putting up with my bullshit. I love you. Alrighty, so settle in, guys. I've got myself some peppermint tea, and I have a very full water bottle that I'm sure you guys are gonna make sure I use a lot tonight. Don't forget to stretch. Ah, thank you, Hayden. Ah, there we go. Quick hydrate check first. And yes, all of the voice acting in this game is so good. Purple does seem to be the main color for this game. It really does, doesn't it? I thought it was very, very befitting for the vibes. Alright. The festival is overflowing and teeming with life and laughter as we push our way into the crowds that gather around the colourful stalls. I stay close to Finn, amused to see townsfolk enthusiastically waving and smiling at him. You're quite popular, aren't you? He shrugs, a hand hovering close to my waist as he guides me through.
We offer the town protection, so most of them tend to be quite grateful to us. There are some who are less than thrilled about my presence, though, so don't be fooled.
Alright, I'm just going to adjust something, just because sometimes the music volume can overwhelm the voices a little bit, and I want you guys to enjoy these amazing voices. We finally find a break in the crowd and move to stand near the edge of the market where we can see the docks clearly. It's mostly the older residents who are hesitant to trust me, and I don't really blame them. Why wouldn't they trust you? He looks away, flexing his fingers, the magic that flows through his iron arm fluttering with the movement.
Because I'm still a vampire. The former head of my clan, my sire, was not interested in offering the town any kind of protection. Though we did not hunt near here, word travels.
Fair enough. I let the silence between us linger, giving him a moment before he's turning to me with a trademark toothy grin. Ah, that's right. This world has not yet discovered top-button technology yet. No. No. There are so many open shirts in this game, and I thank it for it. Leprechaun, thank you so much. How does the tea taste? It is delicious. It is warm. It is pepperminty. Let me show you how us Lunarians do things, shall we? He holds out his arm, and I take it without hesitation. Then Piper emerges from the crowd, stopping us both in our tracks. She's armed, albeit subtly, and her smile is friendly as she approaches.
Well, well, what have we here? You get the attention of all the pretty ones, don't you, Casimir?
She's so hot. She's so very And I look at all of our potential love interests so respectfully, but I sometimes need to take a minute. And we thank the game for the blushing mess that you become, Steph. We're less than 15 minutes into this game, god damn it. My long weekend's been really good so far. Mostly been busy with like some voice acting stuff, recording auditions, and doing some other behind the scenes things. But yeah, all good. All good. I've been letting myself sleep in and also going to the gym fairly regularly, so I'm very pleased with that.
Hello, Piper.
Pretty ones?
Ignore her. She's just bitter that Willenheim has her doing grunt work tonight. Isn't that right, Merriman?
Everyone else gets a night off, and yet here I am, shouting at drunkards for getting too handsy with the sweet stand.
Also, yes, happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. Captain Sapient, hello to you as well. We're just starting out tonight, so feel free to take a seat and enjoy the show. Finn is clearly amused by her bad mood, and she throws him a glare, but her lips curl into a smile. I get the impression these two are friendly. Anyway, what are you two up to? Going to show her your dingy underground lair, Casimir? Finn rolls his eyes. The catacombs are no less dingy than the hovel you call home, I'm sure. I'm sure they're both lovely? Piper snorts, elbowing Finn in the ribs. I prefer to stay above ground. Those tunnels give me the creeps.
Well, you give us the creeps. So I guess we're even, aren't we?
Says the dead man.
Are you really working tonight, Piper? She sighs and cocks her head. Yes, and I better get back to it, actually. No doubt Willenheim's on the lookout, just dying for me to fuck up. It was nice seeing you both. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Piper waves as she departs, shouting loudly as she goes.
Fingers crossed for no horrible murders.
Fingers crossed. I'm just gonna stay close to Finn and hope the night goes well. Finn huffs a laugh, shaking his head incredulously. You two are friends, then? He shrugs. I suppose. She's all right, and she doesn't bother us. She's good at understanding we mean no harm. I think you two are quite similar, actually, so it makes sense.
I've been compared to worse. I'll take it. At least she can hold her liquor. Come on, let's have a look around.
He insists on showing me his favourite stall, one that overflows with a selection of beautiful parchments, colourful inks, and sketchbooks. Yes. Oh, that's right, because he's an artist as well, and he's done the images on the or like pictures at Ezra's shop. He enthusiastically points out which notebook he purchased for Omen when he saw him scribbling on the back of Ezra's shop records one day. We turn the corner and find an exasperated Ezra pursuing the herbalist stall, bickering with the sour-faced woman that owns it. Finn smiles, approaching him quietly and placing a hand upon his back to announce his presence. Is there a problem? Ezra turns, visibly relaxing when he sees him. Nothing other than her trying to stiff me for her shoddy Angelica route. He mutters something under his breath and hands over his coin, stuffing the goods into his pocket. I love your outfit, Ezra. Sorry about that. I apparently take the price of goods a bit too seriously sometimes. Are you two enjoying yourselves? Finn looks at me expectantly, raising a scarred brow in question. Of course. How can I not with such a wonderful guide? Glad to hear it. I better dash. I left Omen and Alcar on the docks to save a spot for the fireworks. Was that a good idea? Alcar probably has him halfway to Therabus by now. I laugh, but it's probably true. Shit. I'll go and see if I can find them. I've already confiscated chocolate from Omen twice. He just can't resist, can he? No matter how much he complains about his tongue tingling. Enjoy the fireworks. I hear they'll be quite impressive this year. He glances at Finn and winks playfully. Behave, you two.
Don't I always?
Not if I can help it. If you say so. Hey, Z, how's it going? Goodbye, you two.
Would you like to watch the fireworks? We don't have to. They're not exactly impressive, and I've seen them more than a few times in my lifetime. But if you want...
I mean, fireworks are fireworks, but I mean, it's a different thing if you're standing with someone under the fireworks. Oh, although there's this option. What else do you have in mind? What would you do if you weren't here with me? He ponders my question for a moment, scuffing his boots on the ground as he steps closer.
Let's go for a walk. I want to show you my favorite place here in Lunaris. It's not far. Come on.
A part of me feels like, oh, like this person I've only known for a day now leading me into unfamiliar territory in a town I've only just moved to, but thankfully red flags are my favorite color. Thanks for the hydro check, Z. Red's not actually my favorite color, but it's up there. He takes me down to the beach, and it's small, not exactly something you would expect to see in a town like Lunaris, but the water that gently laps against the shore is soothing. I can see why he likes it here.
I come here often. It's one of the only places that I can find a little peace, other than the graveyard.
His red flags are big, but his chest is bigger. Damn it! Damn it, Sam, that should not have gotten me as hard as it did. When was the last time you saw the sun? We're getting emotional, guys. I need to focus. I almost immediately regret asking when I see his face fall.
Oh, just a good 660-something years ago, give or take. But that's okay, because I have places like this that still look wonderful in the darkness. And good company helps too.
He stands close, our fingertips brushing. I shiver at the feel of his cold skin, craving that contact. Thank you for showing me. It's really lovely. He hums his agreement, and we stand in silence for a little while, the noise of the festival a distant murmur. I rove my eyes over his face, the milky glow of the moonlight spilling over his cheeks, and his dark lashes flutter as he stares up at the stars. My heart stutters in my chest, and I think back to his words earlier on, knowing that he's heard it. I wonder what it sounds like to him. Is it a rush, a quickening, a desperate thrum? A smirk hooks the corner of his mouth, but he doesn't turn to meet my gaze. Fireworks burst across the sky, sparks scattering wildly, and Finn looks as otherworldly as he truly is, and his sharp features are bathed in the ever-shifting colours. I look skyward, and it's only as I avert my gaze that I feel him looking at me. Beautiful. His next words are soft.
Yes. Beautiful.
I feel his fingertips reach for mine, my breath stuttering as I meet his touch willingly. Not even the ice-cold chill of his skin could cool the impossible heat that I feel in the moment. The fireworks stop and the crowd cheers, and then there's perfect silence. Nothing but him and I, and the gentle sound of the waves lapping against the shore. My gaze drops to our loosely entwined fingers, then up to meet burning gold. With little thought and very little hesitation, we both lean in until our lips are about a breath apart. Then, a scream. Blood-curdling and awful in the distance. Well, that was fun while it lasted. And yes, Z, I did look around and okay, any dialogue options labeled fight in this chapter will lead to scenes containing violence and gore. Player discretion is advised. Okay, so there might be depictions of physical violence. Please proceed with caution. We play horror games on this channel, and some of those can get quite gruesome, but I'm not quite sure how far it goes in this game. I know it doesn't go into, as far as I'm aware, extreme not safe for work territory, like sexually, because that was one thing I wanted to check before I picked this game. So, just proceed with caution for the next bit. The cold winter wind whips against my skin as I run as fast as I can, sinking deeper into the ominous woodland that surrounds Lunaris. I'm hot on Piper's heels and she's determined and hyper-focused, as am I. There's nothing like the hunt. The way my instincts drive every feeling, my senses sharpened to a knife's edge, my every thought is fixated on winning and only winning. I can think of nothing else but finding the source of the distress, a terrible sense of dread swirling in my gut. The woods are teeming with every hunter and enforcer Lunaris has to offer, each and every one of us silently hoping that this isn't what we think it is. that this isn't the 5th victim that we've all been expecting. Another of our comrades targeted and slain so brutally and without an apparent motive. Killed simply for doing their job, protecting humankind. My feet pound the frost-crisp grass, tall trees with gnarled branches that curl inward like talons, almost naked from winter's grasp looming high above us. I spot eyes glowing in the darkness, but I quickly realize that they've carved messily into the rickety tree trunks. They glow ominously as another gust of wind blows. I swear I see them blink. I make a mental note to remind myself to return to investigate, although I'm sure they're nothing new, not in a town like this. Piper skids to a stop, her fingers diligently hovering just above the handles of each of her daggers that sit safely in the holster on her back. Did you hear that? God, she's gorgeous and amazing and so fucking cool! A quiet but obvious whisper echoes amongst the trees, a pain grown from something unquestionably inhuman, from a creature. I did. Her fingers twitch, so do mine. Eyes narrowed, every sense razor sharp and zoned in on that singular point.
It feels young and inexperienced. It's beneath our skill level. Beneath us.
She says it with such confidence, but her guard is still firmly up. The duo of wide-eyed hunter sergeants that have been ordered to tail us arrive at our side, their cheeks rosy from the harsh bite of the wind. Major? Piper opens her mouth to respond, but she pauses, looking to me.
You're the highest rank here, General. Do we move on and let these two handle it? Or do you fancy working out some tension?
Okay. This is something I feel like I need to see myself, so I'm gonna take point and work out some tension with this and choose fight. Just, again, be cautious, I'm not sure how gruesome the imagery is in this game. I can always do with working out a little tension.
That's what I was hoping you'd say. I haven't had a good fight in what feels like forever.
I turn to address the sergeants. Continue heading for the rendezvous point. If you can encounter General Willenheim, tell them we're on our way. They nod a little too eagerly and run onward. The hairs on the back of my neck rise the second they're out of sight. My body is gearing up for a fight, adrenaline coursing generously through my veins. I close my eyes and clear my mind. I can hear the steady, assured thrum of Piper's heartbeat, the quiet rustle of the grass, the leaves rustling in the trees. I'm just going to save quickly, just in case. Then I feel it. A vampire, a youngling. Her aura is frantic and skittish. She's only just woken. She's hungry and scared. She's trying to hide. I smile. We're out quite far. Always used to find younglings in this area. She can likely sense that there's a clan here. She's either seeking guidance or an easy meal. It's too dangerous to let her live. She's unstable. Then we kill her. Oh, fuck. Is Finn gonna be pissed that we killed a vampire, but understandably, like, if she hurts someone, we have to stop her. The youngling finally emerges from the tree line, her vivid crimson irises surrounded by a blackened sclera. Her eyes flicker wildly as she lumbers towards us, unfocused and possibly unsteady on her feet. This should be easy. She's clearly deprived of blood, dark vining veins surrounding her wild eyes and creep down her pale cheeks. She wears no shoes, her feet black with mud, and her clothing is torn and saturated with blood, most of it likely her own. Her death was obviously not a merciful one. She's quite clearly been left to navigate her rebirth by herself, and this never ends well. Ends in the slaughter of innocent lives. Her lips curl menacingly to reveal sharp fangs that she's still clearly getting used to, and she lunges at us without hesitation. Okay, dodge. I propel myself forward, getting out of the way just before her unforgiving talons find flesh. She growls and Piper's wicked laughter echoes around the clearing, drowning her out. She emerges from the darkness before I've even noticed her absence, and she jabs the vampire in the nose with her elbow with such force that it leaves the youngling stunned. I see an opportunity and take it, kicking the youngling's legs from under her and sending her tumbling to the forest floor. Piper quickly seats herself upon the vampire's back, pinning her and holding her arms. She looks at me with a certain ferocity burning in her gaze, our twin instincts sizzling, itching for a kill. With a curled lip and teeth bared, Piper tips her chin.
Put her out of her misery.
The youngling thrashes and screams as I forcefully grab her hair, yanking her head back to get a look at her. She's barely 20, the bite marks on her neck still healing. A fresh turn then, and one that wasn't done with care. I stare deep into her eyes, seeing not even the barest trace of humanity looking back at me. She's blind with hunger, her newfound instincts ravaging her from the inside out. She's gone. She thrashes again and Piper tightens her grip. We work in tandem to remove her head clean from her body. It's the only way, however violent it may be. I feel warmth spray against my skin, the unmistakable stench of copper permeating the air. The visceral sound of tearing flesh and breaking bone fills the clearing, then she turns into nothingness beneath us, an unrecognizable pile of blood and viscera, yet another human life stolen and twisted into something evil. Well, that was fun. I brush the dirt from my knees and take a deep breath, watching Piper clean off her bloody daggers on the grass. Okay, so maybe if you pick the wrong option, either you or Piper get hurt, and then maybe like there's art that depicts it, but that was okay. That was okay. We should really get going. She turns to face me and I spot that her face is covered in a dark spattering of crimson. Let me get that for you. You've got red on you. Oh, I like the creators of this game. They have great taste in movies. I take a tentative step forward and her eyes quickly flicker to my face. You have a little something. I do? I nod, stepping closer again, unable to stifle the smile that threatens to curl at my lips as she stares me down. Right here. I touch the tip of her nose, then each of her cheeks. May I? She arches a brow at me, her eyes sparkling wickedly. You may. She tilts her head and waits expectantly, a hand resting upon her cocked hip. I reach out and brush my thumb over the apple of her full, freckled cheeks, wiping away the still wet blood. It smears, so I press a little harder, grimacing as I make even more of a mess on her face. She huffs a quiet laugh, and I can tell she was attempting to swallow, and she grabs my wrist and reels me in.
Come on, put your back into it.
I'm trying. You're very distracting, Piper. I laugh as Piper uses the sleeve of my coat to roughly wipe her face clean, leaving her cheeks a delightful rosy red. Thanks for the hydrate check. How do I look? I inspect the damage to my sleeve with a sigh as I register the bloodstains. Certainly not the worst mess I've been in. Her ring game looks like Stephanie's. She has a great taste in rings. As a fellow lover of wearing lots of silver jewellery, I can appreciate that. Positively ravishing as always. Ass. I love her sense of humour so much. Like, you say something sweet and flattering, and she's like, fuck you. I clear my throat, enchanted by the way her eyes crinkle in the corners when she laughs. I mean it, Piper, even covered in blood. I know you mean it.
We'd better get going. August will be having an absolute bitch fit.
I love this game. Piper tilts her head to the side, a loud crack as her bones click back into their rightful place. Oh look, see, she does stretch checks too. Just like me. Let's dash. Hey, Echo, how's it going? It's easy to tell what we're dealing with as we draw nearer to the scene. Dozens of hunters and enforcers of varying ranks saturate the small clearing, the majority of them still dressed in their festival attire, much like Piper and I. Thanks for the stretch check, Salva Holder. We spot a retrieval team emerging from the tree line. Their faces are pale and drawn. It's then that I know. They didn't make it.
You're here.
August, you are looking so fine this evening. I see that the technology of a top button still eludes us to this day. I know we're supposed to be serious, there's been the death of a comrade, but you're both very distracting. We ran into some trouble on the way, but we took care of it. I gather that's why you were so late. It's fine. Obviously such things cannot be prevented.
It's not good news, as I'm sure you can tell.
My heart sinks. I knew, but hearing it out loud is still unpleasant. Do we have an identity? They shake their head, brushing the front of their fur coat that I'm sure they're less than happy about wearing in such a situation.
We cannot identify
Their voice crashes.
There is no body. Again.
Oh.
Nothing but, well, I don't need to repeat such monstrous details. You've read the reports from the previous murders. Much of the same ghastliness.
Piper scoffs, her shoulders tensing, and I swear I can see tears in her eyes. She's hurting and angry. So angry that I can feel it. Gooseflesh prickles across my skin thanks to our close proximity, and my own emotions waver with the sheer force of it. This is fucking ridiculous.
This cannot keep happening, August!
I flinch, feeling the surge of energy as August reacts. The smell of ozone is suddenly thick in the air. There's a flash in the darkness and violet sparks crackle around their clenched fists, their eyes alight.
Thank you, Piper, for your input. I didn't know this was upsetting. I assumed everyone was enjoying this.
Oh, honestly, Echo, the art in this game is so pretty, and all of the character design is so cool. A dozen eyes turn to look at them, and they quickly calm themselves. August looks beyond exhausted, as always. The skin beneath their eyes is purple, their cheeks drawn. Piper opens her mouth to retaliate, but wisely decides against it. This actually might be the first time I've seen her look guilty. August averts their gaze as if they can't bear to look at her. They're upset too.
I suggest you keep your thoughts to yourself in such a situation, unless you have any useful insight.
It's not a question.
Yes. Sorry, General.
I thought as much. We're all hurting, Piper, not just you. August sighs deeply, sparing us both a woeful glance before they address the gathered forces.
Hunters, any mages present will patrol the immediate area. Generals will head further afield and begin an extensive perimeter search. I want no stone unturned here. Any juniors need to get the hell out of here. You're not equipped to even think about dealing with whatever this thing is. And I won't be responsible for your demise. Anyone else present is to report back to headquarters immediately. We'll need people on the ground in order to reassure the townsfolk. I don't want this causing widespread panic. It's damage control time.
There's a quiet, subdued mumble of, "Yes, General," and they all dutifully begin to obey August's orders, disappearing into various directions. Would you like me to join the perimeter search? No, I'd like you to go home. Leave this to the others. We need you ready for anything that may transpire overnight. Of course. Piper fidgets, uneasy. What? You're a major, aren't you? If you were listening, you'll know what I asked of you. The tension between them is yet again immensely unpleasant. Of course, General. She should have expected such a response, and I wonder if she'll ever learn. Or maybe she's hoping to rile them up, I can't tell. She throws me a quick, pitiful glance before she glares at August and turns to join her comrades. Later. August massages their temples, inhaling sharply. I notice that their hands are trembling, and I unconsciously take a step towards them, fearful that they may pass out. They hold out their hand. I'm fine, really. General.
I appreciate your concern, Hunter, really. Anything that ails me is my fault and mine alone.
Now, please head back. I meant it when I said I need you rested.
You'll be the first to hear if anything significant happens. I'll send a messenger to retrieve you when the victim has been identified.
Of course. Good night, and stay safe. If you think I'm staying out here in this for another second, you're sorely mistaken. I have a mountain of paperwork the size of an AVEC on my desk. Farewell, Stephanie. I take a final look at the scene when the enforcer witches have cast their mage lights over a bloody patch of grass, leaving them to their work no matter how much I long to investigate. After that outburst, it's best not to question my enforcer's request. I bow my head before I turn, eager to get out of here. As I head back through the woodland, I notice how eerily silent it is. A strange sense of calm washes over me. Then, a whisper. Harry. I stop dead in my tracks, my hand hovering over my weapon. I see nothing, feel nothing, no matter how hard I concentrate. Then I realize. That voice, The familiar yet subdued ache that begins to creep into my temple. James? You deserve to know. The pain ebbs and flows, my breathing grows unsteady, almost as if something weighs heavy upon my chest. The fleeting, comforting calm that had just settled over me is snatched away as his voice continues to echo in my mind. No what? I'm so... A sharp, burning pain shoots up along my spine and I fall to the ground. The snow-covered grass is wet beneath my fingertips. His words were cut off, and after a moment, I'm yet again surrounded by blissful silence. Fucking ghosts. I drag myself to my feet, and now I only have one thing on my mind, one thing that I must do. Visit the Lieutenant General and find out what the hell is happening to me. Okay, going to save. After having no luck finding him in his own office, I head to the only other place I assume he may be at this hour. The door to August's office is thankfully ajar, so I peek around the frame, finding Harry standing alone. He has a report in hand, his coat hung on the back of August's chair. He looks exhausted, his eyes red-rimmed. However, when he notices me, he still offers me a bright, earnest smile.
I can't tell you how relieved I am to see you safe.
My throat feels tight and I can't quite place why. James is doing a good job of making it difficult for me to stop thinking about him. The pain I felt from his final moment was raw like an exposed nerve. Oh, take care, Clonsinator. Thank you so much for joining us. For some reason, when I think of it, I now think of Harry. I know, shocking. He actually has a top button. He is the chosen one. God damn it. I need to know why he wanted me to come here, why everything seems to point back to the man standing before me. I'm very suspicious of Harry. I need to tell you something, but I need you to promise me that you won't think I've lost my mind. Harry narrows his gaze, nodding once. Go on. I visited the graveyard a few days ago while I was getting my bearings. He stays silent, but I can't help but notice the way his knuckles bleed white as he tightens his fist. I felt an overwhelming sense of grief there, pain, a yearning for a lost love, a sense of failure and crippling sorrow. I thought nothing of it at the time. It's not unheard of for those who have been murdered to feel scared or sentimental in their final moments, in my experience. But he's got Hannibal vibes, and I say that as someone who hasn't watched the show. You know what? Now that you say it, the haircut, like the posture, the waistcoat, and like everything being so put together, I can definitely pick up on some Hannibal Lecter vibes a little bit. But Harry drops his gaze, his bright eyes sad and edged with tears. My words threaten to catch in my throat, but I relent. The other night I visited again. It was almost like something was pulling me there. I heard more, not just a memory this time. He spoke to me. He looks like he's seen a ghost. He stares at me wide-eyed, quickly swiping at his cheeks.
Oh, James.
I get the horrible feeling that he's been waiting for this. I need to know. He nods, clearly understanding. Then he takes a deep, shuddering breath.
James was assigned as my very first hunter the moment we both graduated at 18.
Oh.
He'd shown remarkable promise in school, basically skipping all of the junior nonsense that they force on you. I, too, had impressed, so we were placed together in the hopes that we'd become unstoppable. We were inseparable in the field together for decades, until I took this post as Lieutenant General.
A pause and another deep breath, one that shakes.
But, as well as being my subordinate, he was also my partner.
Okay. Oh, Harry, I'm so sorry.
My husband.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My heart sinks, bile rising in my throat. I've read countless reports about him and the infamous Hunter Lane over the years, but I never knew his first name or anything about him other than his incomparable work. Official records tend to omit personal details for the safety of the hunter or enforcer in question unless they become a leader like Harry. They were intimidable, the best of the best. Together they killed some of the most nefarious creatures in our history, and without question, every young trainee aspires to be just like Hunter Lane. To think that he's just gone, and what Harry must be going through. I'm so sorry, I had no idea.
For nearly 10 years, yes. But we'd known each other forever.
Oh.
I failed the hunter initiation quite dramatically, and he was taken away to his father's home country to train to become what I'd always dreamed of becoming. Life had other plans for me, but we still found each other in the end. He used to joke that we were destined. The romantic fool. I really don't think it's sunk in that he's gone just yet.
Oh.
I keep thinking he's going to walk through my door, covered head to toe in blood and grime, with a stupid, wonderful grin on his face.
Oh. I notice how his eyes light up when he talks about him.
They say that people deal with grief differently, but I haven't quite figured mine out just yet. I apologize for not telling you, but it was important to me that I could trust you first. My judgment has been impaired, I'll admit it, though this turn of events isn't exactly what I expected.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
All I can think about now is justice. About the others that died before him, and what we could have done to stop it. What I could have done to stop it.
What did he tell you when he spoke to you? His words waver and he mindlessly fiddles with his wedding band, eagerly awaiting my response. I think about what Ezra said, about being careful who I share this with. Did that warning apply to the Lieutenant General of all of Eskira? Oh shit. My gut is saying to tell him the truth. Like, I know I was saying that he's quite suspicious, but oh fuck. Okay, I'm gonna save it in this top one, just because this is quite an important choice. And oh fuck, what do I do, guys? Oh god. I want to tell him the truth, but I feel like I should lie. I know. Okay. I want to tell him the truth, but at the same time, I'm very suspicious. And I feel like I'll feel like a real piece of shit if I say lie and it turns out it was real. So it might bite me in the ass later, but from what I could tell from his reactions, they were genuine. I want to tell him the truth. He told me to leave, that he failed and there's no hope. He swallows thickly, his expression unchanging. I got the impression he wanted to say more, but I don't know how he managed to communicate with me in the first place. I think he can only say so much before he fades away. I feel like a great struggle for him. It feels like a great struggle for him to reach out. I cannot explain it. He closes his eyes tight, shaking his head as if he can't bear to hear anymore.
I will need you to speak to Augustus about this. They know more about psionic magic than anyone here. I'm sure they'll be able to help you figure this out. I do not trust anyone else.
Okay. Then a hopeful look.
Did he truly not say anything else?
Oh. He didn't. But the first night that I felt him, I could tell how much he loved you, Harry. You were all he could think about in his final moments. He laughs quietly.
Yes. Well, he's all I can think about too. A curse now, I suppose.
Oh, I know you're my superior officer, but I want to very respectfully offer you a comforting hug because this feels like this has been something you've had to keep to yourself for a really long time. Silence hangs heavy between us, and I don't quite know what to say next. He looks devastated, understandably. He must have so much on his mind already with the latest murder, and now this. The way he came alive when he spoke about James didn't go unnoticed, and I wonder if maybe talking about him would lift his mood. There's a lot of hunters out there that can only aspire to be half as brilliant as Hunter Lane. I would love to hear what he was like, if you don't mind. His somber expression disappears and he seems to brighten up a little.
He was a cocky son of a bitch, but it worked well for him in the field. He was never careless, though. I often found myself watching him instead of paying attention to whatever was attacking us. Luckily, he could fight well enough to protect us both, or I'm sure we'd have been in trouble. A lot of enforcers choose to stay cooped up in a stuffy office, away from all that danger. Working with James made me not want to miss a thing.
He digs into his coat pocket, retrieving his wallet and pulling out a small weathered photo. He pauses, staring me down as if he has reservations, but then he hands it over. Oh! It's of him and James. They look young, beyond happy, and impossibly in love.
We were unbearable to be around, I'm sure.
I study the genuine smile in the way their fingers are laced together. I may not know James aside from the voice in my head, but I feel a strange connection to him, as if I've known him forever. Thank you for showing me. He tucks the photo back into its place right beside a neatly folded up letter.
Well, apparently he appears to have taken a liking to you. It's only fair for you to put a face to the name, I suppose.
Oh. He stares down at his hand, once again twisting his wedding band. His expression is neutral when he meets my gaze, but in a split second his disposition shifts to the stiff formality I'm so used to when dealing with figures of authority. I gather that our conversation about his dearly departed is over.
What happened tonight could have been prevented. It's unacceptable that we were so aware of the looming threat, and yet we let our guard down and lost another life. This cannot happen again.
I nod, agreeing wholeheartedly, but I cannot shake the feeling that yes, this could have been prevented if it weren't for the festival. The festival he was so adamant went ahead despite others' clear apprehension, including August. I think better of pressing the matter. Harry suddenly doesn't seem like a man willing to admit fault. Did you speak to the twins as I requested? I did, as I'm sure you expected. I didn't get much out of them. A quiet hum, which I think is an indifferent agreement, and Harry sighs heavily. They are rather adept at both lying and sheer avoidance. I'm interested in speaking to the brother alone, though. There was something off about him, like he just didn't want to be there. I also came across a letter outside the building, one that was addressed to him. The language looked demonic. Harry nods, indifferent, and I wonder if he even heard me. He clears his throat and flicks his eyes to the side as though he has no interest in humouring me any longer.
There's nothing more you can do here until we've identified the victim. Get some rest. It's late. You're dismissed, Hunter.
Though I'm used to being addressed in such a manner, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't perplexed by the shift in his demeanour. I chalk it down to grief, just like he said, but I can't help but feel like maybe I've disappointed him somehow. I turn, and I quietly leave. Okay, save. Snow is still falling as I step outside. Though the hour is late, there's certainly no peaceful quiet in Lunaris tonight. The streets outside of headquarters are bustling with hunters, enforcers, and everything in between. I keep my head down as I make my way towards the wolf. I fall into a trance as I replay my conversation with Harry over and over, trying to pinpoint the exact moment that made him change his attitude so drastically. I'm snapped back to reality when I bump into something cold and hard, finding a pair of familiar golden eyes staring back at me when I look up. Hi.
Distracted, are we?
Hi. You are a welcome sight. You're so far the best part of my evening. I just talked to my boss and there's some tension here. He needed a hug. Can I get a hug? I step back, brushing down the front of my coat. I can see that his lips are on the cusp of curling into the side in a vaguely amused smirk. You could say that. It's been a long night. He offers me a sympathetic look, shoving his hands firmly into his coat pockets as a duo of enforcers passes by. They make a point to glare at him, and by proxy at me for being near him. Finn dutifully avoids their gaze like a man who has had centuries of perfect feigning indifference to the way people like me treat him and his kind.
I can imagine. I'm just glad to see that you're okay. I was worried for you when you ran off back there.
You were worried about me? Oh yes, that. With the flare of adrenaline that the hunt had granted me, I'd foolishly almost forgotten about the stolen promise of his cool lips against mine. Now it feels like a dream as I stand on the snow-covered street, but Finn is all too real. I clear my throat, distracted by the thought of it. I'm sorry we were so rudely interrupted. He laughs, and the sight of his wide, toothy smile is enough to make me forget my troubles, even if for just a fleeting moment. Somehow Finn always serves as a good distraction.
Nothing like a good murder to ruin such a moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll have your head for treason if they hear you joking about such things. Regardless, I really am happy that you're safe. I had fun with you.
Celtic Wolfblood, welcome back! It's lovely to see you once again. I'm hoping that you have a wonderful Easter and a wonderful stream as always. You're a fantastic content creator and extremely underrated on both Twitch and YouTube. Honestly, I do agree that in some ways I'm underrated, and I'm working my ass off to try and build up my numbers as much as I can, but honestly sometimes it's down to the algorithm just not suggesting my videos or not boosting my posts in the way that I hope they would. But honestly, I'm already so grateful for the amazing community that I've managed to cultivate over the years, and it has all my lovely lost tales like you. So thank you so much for dropping by, Celtic Wolf. A stretch check is for a self hug, not the same as one for someone else, but nice nonetheless. Thank you, Hayden. Steph, do you have a Discord server? I do, but it's only accessible for Twitch subs and patrons of the whiskey tier or higher, but I do see that you are a subscriber, so you should be able to access it. And if you go to my About section on my Twitch channel, there should then be a section in the FAQ area that then will link to a page that goes into the details of how to join the Discord. You deserve to have temples built to your honor, great works of epics to sing your praise, and the sun and moon to sing of your beauty. Samuel, you're too kind. And I absolutely agree. I should hope that you did. It would be hard not to. He turns to check that the street is clear, turning back to me with a serious look. I have my clan patrolling the woods. I'll ensure they're out until dawn, searching if necessary. Anything we can do to help find whatever or whoever is doing this. I'm grateful for the assistance, and I certainly can't say I've ever had an entire clan of vampires as allies before. I'm optimistic that their help will be of great value to me. That's very kind. After an indecipherable pause, Finn's expression drifts somewhere far away. You know, I was out there just now. I picked up a scent, something familiar. Familiar how? He steps closer, and there's a certain air of caution in the way he addresses me, as if he's unsure that we're truly alone. I didn't get to hang around. There were too many enforcers, but the blood on that stone we found in the graveyard, at the scene of... He pauses, apprehension clouding the way he looks at me. His next words are glum and as dead as his demeanor. Of Hunter Lane's death. He's testing the waters to see if he's testing the waters if the way he holds my stare is anything to go by, waiting to see just how clued in I am. I know about him, Finn. I spoke to Harry just now. He might be a vampire, but the look that crosses his face momentarily isn't exactly subtle. He casts his eyes away from me, the frown that settled on his soft brow softening around the edges. He licks one of his fangs, thinking with a forlornness that suits him a little too well. I see. And how did that go? I shrug because I can't really offer him anything else. I feel deflated and defeated. Not great. He's in mourning, and I don't think he's in the right mind to be making decisions. Finn purses his lips, contemplating my statement.
That's a bold way to speak of your Lieutenant General, but I don't doubt your instincts. I've lost loved ones, and it's never easy. The mind needs time to heal after such trauma. And all Harry is doing is delaying his grief.
Eventually he throws me a half-hearted smile, but I sense it's something pitiful rather than friendly. I suspect my frustration with the current predicament is glaringly obvious without him having to read my thoughts.
I'm sorry you've been kept so in the dark. I can sense that you're frustrated, and I don't blame you. As much as I may not agree with certain information being withheld, it truly is for your safety.
It's funny because everyone keeps saying such things, but it certainly doesn't feel like anything other than sheer avoidance. He removes a hand from his pocket, running long fingers through his hair with a knowing exhale. Yes, well, I cannot excuse anyone else's behaviour, but I can apologise for my own. Come by the catacombs when you get the chance. I have some things we can discuss that may help. Though spending some time underground in a tomb sounds less than appealing, Finn doesn't look like the kind of man who lives in squalor. Plus, any information is valued, and Finn has lived here long enough to know the ins and outs of this strange little town. Thank you. I'll take you up on that as soon as I can. Hey, Spirit Wolf, how's it going? Welcome back. He tips his head, encouraging me to follow him towards the wharf, I assume. Come on, I'll walk you home. I'm eager to get inside, and with a few strides I catch up to him, falling in step. I don't require an escort, you know. Everyone seems so set on ensuring I'm safe, but you all seem to be forgetting I was brought here to save the day. Supposedly. He passes his lips in an obvious attempt to stop himself from laughing, and I watch the bob of his throat as he swallows the noise. At least try to have some faith in me, Finn.
I'm aware that you require no assistance, but think about the hunters that were killed. They were of your caliber, your rank. The best of the best, as the enforcers love to say.
You know what, that's a fair point.
The thought of you ending up like them is not a pleasant one.
Are you caring about my well-being?
We may not have known you for very long, but we don't want to see you get hurt. I've certainly grown quite fond of you.
Oh, really? I try to hide my smile, but it's hard when he's being so wonderfully charming. See, even in character in the game, I'm just like internally a blushing mess. Very well, but no coddling, understand? Yes, General. He laughs again when he catches sight of the dramatic roll of my eyes, sidestepping the startling grace to avoid the elbow that I launched towards his ribcage. We walk quietly through the streets, the cobblestones glistening with frost. The moon is full and hangs low in the sky as it always seems to here in Lunaris, and Fenix exhales sharply to break the silence. I glance at him, too tired to ask him any of the hundreds of questions that run through my mind. I think he knows somehow, because he also seems to have something on the tip of his tongue. We stop outside the wharf, the lantern that hangs above the door dark thanks to the late hour. I glance up at the now familiar sign, a scrappy-looking white wolf howling at a full moon, and I laugh. Finn leans against the mismatched brick and stares at me quite intently, his eyes unnervingly bright in the growing darkness. What's funny? You're all masters of being painfully cryptic, and yet I still feel at home. But I shouldn't trust a single one of you, should I? He turns, checking we're alone again before he leans a little closer, his voice low.
That's for you to decide. So, tell me, Hunter, what does that tricky little gut of yours tell you about all of this? About us? What do you feel?
Thanks for the hydrate check. Flirt with everyone. I find myself getting lost in molten gold, watching him watch me. A witty response turns to ash upon my tongue. I'm hyper-aware of how close we are, caught by the memory of his hand in mine on the beach, of our lips hovering so close that I could feel his cool breath against my skin. He remains silent, and I clear my throat. So, the festival. He smiles softly, fingers twitching by his side.
I was expecting some brilliant insight into your investigation, but I'm more than happy to discuss our date.
Also, in case you guys, so there's some people that weren't here last stream, this is the same voice actor who did Fenris in Dragon Age 2. So if his voice is like bringing back some memories, that might be why. I huff an incredulous laugh, the noise catching in my throat thanks to his bold statement. A date, was it? He feigns offense, clutching his chest where I know his heart doesn't beat. My smile widens at the ridiculousness of the gesture. honestly, the fact that he doesn't take himself too seriously makes him that much more attractive. Like, to me, like, because it's one thing if you're gorgeous, another thing if you're, like, intelligent and witty. It's a third thing if you can just be chill and be a little bit ridiculous, and it's just, mwah, it's wonderful. Shauna Stargazer, thank you so much for the 45 bits. Greetings, Stephanie. It's nice to see you. Hopefully your day is going well. Here are some bits to cheer you on. Thank you so much, Sean. That's so sweet of you. And welcome. It's either been a while or you're new here. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you so much for the bits.
I cannot believe that you would dismiss our evening together as anything other than a date. Especially after you seduced me so beautifully.
I have my ways. His fangs graze his bottom lip, and my toes curl in my boots at the thought of what they're capable of. A stark reminder that he is still a creature, and I'm very much a human that kills such things. I seduced you, did I? If I recall correctly, you were the one who took my hand. He leaned in. His answering laugh is enchanting, his nose crinkling, pearly white fangs glistening.
It takes two to tango, as they say. I'm just teasing, though. I do not take offense if you didn't see it as such. I had a good time regardless. I was rather upset our night together ended so abruptly, but duty calls, right?
This time I really do elbow him, catching him square in the ribs. He's polite enough to let out a quiet oof, but I know he's truly unaffected. Baron, love the way his fangs poke over his bottom lip. Whorish behavior, love that. Honestly, everyone in this game is just so unapologetically hot and flirtatious, but they're all like, it's just the people who made this understand good supernatural romance and the things that we appreciate, so I love this game. Sean, it has been a while. Yes, I've been busy studying acting. At the same time, I've been writing my stories and playing Space Engineers. It's like Minecraft, but in space. Oh, fantastic. I've also been taking acting classes. My elbow, on the other hand. He grins all lopsided and beautiful. Exactly, and I should probably be doing many things other than talking to strange vampires in the snow at this early hour. Yes, like sleeping. And yet, here you are. I sigh, joining him and leaning against the wall, my breath turning to mist against the cold air. Here I stay. I wish I knew what it was about him that draws me in, besides the obvious. By all accounts, I should be overly cautious around such a creature, but Finn makes me feel more at ease than I thought possible. And I need that moment, and I need that tonight more than ever. I want to get to know him, to understand why my heart pounds so feverishly whenever he's near. I should head inside. My words sound dull, and I know I don't mean that. I'm looking for a reason to stay right here, anchored in the spot. Gegush, thank you so much for the 11-month resub. Nothing like a little physical banter with a being who can rip you to shreds. Work's been keeping me busy, so I've only been enjoying VODs for now. Dropping by to wish everyone a good Sunday and a great week ahead for all of us. Thank you so much, Gegush, for your 11-month Prime resub. Almost coming up to a full year now. Thank you so much for the amazing support. I hope you've been having a wonderful weekend, and yes, good vibes for the week ahead. You sound positively enthused. I shrug, sparing the old door of the tavern a glance. The sheets are scratchy. I'm just psyching myself up. That's fair. After a very brief pause, he quickly steals his gaze. He reaches out and runs a cool iron finger along the curve of my cheekbone. The etchings flicker in the darkness.
You are quite lovely, you know.
I cannot resist the impulse to tip my head in blatant invitation, the way wolves show submission, baring the column of my throat to a man who could rip it out in a mere blink of an eye. His cool digits stop over the place where my pulse thrums furiously, and I no longer care that he can hear, that he knows what he's doing to me. He smells strangely like a dying summer, though I suspect his memories of sunshine are long dead.
Sweet dreams, fair hunter. I daren't keep you from your rest much longer.
My traitorous body shivers under his touch, and I mourn the loss of it when he finally pulls away. He quickly stuffs his hands back into his coat pockets as if the temptation would be too much if he didn't. I take a deep breath and try to gather my wits. I can't seem to find it in me to mind. He smiles at that, and I sense reluctance as he pushes away from the wall, ready to depart.
Ah, alas, you have a town to save. Plus, the night is still young, for a creature like myself.
I sigh, staying closer than is probably necessary, craving contact of any kind as I watch his grin grow wider. Right. I really should head inside, though, I suppose.
A pleasure as always. And remember, we've got your back. Should we find anything of interest overnight, I'll come running. Daylight permitting, of course. Good night, Hunter.
I return his smile, pushing the heavy door to the wharf open and praying it doesn't creak and wake the other residents. Good night, Finn. I watch him go before I close the door, only the light of the moon guiding his way as he disappears into the darkness. This game gets it. This game gets it. Save. Save. Sorry, I was kind of like flailing my arms a little bit in the background because I was just so focused on trying to keep my voice steady so that I could deliver the dialogue in a soothing, kind of seductive manner, while like inside my brain, it is just full fireworks at the moment. I finally settle upon the hard mattress, the cheap sheets harsh against my skin as I attempt to get comfortable. Light from the low-hanging moon pours into my room. I've scrubbed myself clean of any traces of grime from the hunt, and I can't help but feel irritated from the sheer lack of progress I've made so far. I come to the conclusion that there are too many secret keepers in this town, and I refuse to feel defeated or to let it continue. Overwhelmed by today's events, I find myself falling into a swift and dreamless sleep. Reality settles over me when I wake, a thick smog that almost suffocates me as I reluctantly drag myself from the almost comfort of my bed. I haven't had anywhere near enough rest, but I must relent. I gather the energy to dress and head downstairs to face whatever obstacles are hastily and inevitably shoved in my way. As my eyes take in the bleary sight of the empty tavern, the hideous sounds of the scraping of wood against stone assault to my ears. In a corner of the room, Alcar stumbles to his feet, the chair he's been sitting on almost toppling over. He catches it and sets it right, and then grimaces briefly before stalking over to me. Tiger Lily T, in your original stories, there is a running theme of the speaker letting the listener go, then the listener eventually coming back. Is that a conscious decision? I don't know, because I do agree that there's been some instances of, I think at least in 2 occasions of 2 of my ASMR tales when, like, the more monstrous character has either pushed away the listener or, like let them go back into the world. I don't know, maybe it's just to kind of, like, add a little bit more dramatic flair to it, or to add a bit more tension, or to give... I think in some ways it's also to kind of give the listener then a sense of agency, and just show that then, like, if they do return to their monstrous paramour, then it's of their own free will, and they're not being, like, kind of held without their consent. Unlike with the exception of, like, the Night Angel story, which is explicitly like a yandere deeply unhealthy dynamic. So it's just also kind of a trope that I like. It's easy to see the hunch of his shoulders and the stiffness of his posture. For a moment I wonder if he's hurt somehow, but as he comes closer, it's more likely he's only wary, perhaps? Not unusual, but with the commotion last night, it still puts me ill at ease. I don't need supernatural senses to know that this is going to be another pebble on the mountain of mysteries. He looks a mess. What has he been doing? Rolling around on the forest floor?
Hunter, I need to speak with you.
I like your cape, sir. It's almost a top button. He doesn't sound like the aloof, cocky half-lycan I've come to know. He speaks forcefully, but there's a tremor in his voice that's hard to miss. What's wrong? Oh shit, what have you found? The frown deepens. Instead of explaining himself, Alcar holds out his hand and uncurls his fingers, revealing a crumpled ball of fabric. For a moment I stare at him, and at the thing he's holding without comprehension. Alcar stares back, his expression telling me he thinks I'm an idiot for not getting it. But then I realize the distinctive purple under the dirt, and the dried crusted blood, and my stomach drops. A hunter's sash. Alcar is holding a hunter's sash in his hands. Or what's left of it. The thing is in a sorry state, its original colour almost indistinguishable under the grime. Carefully I reach out to take it from him for closer inspection. He looks down.
It doesn't belong to the hunter that was killed last night. It doesn't belong to any of them. It's not right. The smell.
I stare at him in disbelief, shaking my head as I feel the gritty fabric between my fingers. Then who does it belong to? Alcar shrugs half-heartedly. In the tavern's uncertain light, his face is drawn and his eyes are sunken. Exhausted, I realize, but his tail still flicks back and forth, back and forth. In impatience or agitation, it's hard to tell with him. All I know is that Alcar is telling the truth, if for no other reason than because he's too worn out for deception. I tried, but I couldn't tell. I searched all night with Finn's clan, but we came up short. He looks over his shoulder, checking to ensure we don't have company.
I have to be careful. I can't be seen with such things.
I'm familiar with the name Robert Whitaker, but I don't know a great deal about him. A sharp exhale and he emits defeat, shoulders drooping, ears flat against his head. There's as much bitter resentment in his voice as there is sulk.
They'll make me pay for my generosity with my own blood. Again.
The certainty with which he says it makes my stomach drop almost as much as his grim resignation. I am flirting with everyone. I raise an eyebrow at him even as I very carefully pocket the piece of evidence. I haven't forgotten the brief conversation with Finn in the graveyard about the strange-smelling blood. This feels like a vague but worthwhile puzzle piece. And despite himself, Alcar delivered it to me, a stranger, and a hunter at that. Probably precisely because I'm a stranger. Fuck knows he probably doesn't trust any of my colleagues in this town. Still, it's got me touched. Don't worry, Alcar, I won't mention you, and even if they do try to give you trouble for it, they'll have to get through me first. Alcar's jaw drops. He stares at me like I've just said something outlandish before the moment passes and he takes a step back, a bark of a laugh bubbling out of him. Oh, that's rich. I glare at him, and he grins right back at me with not an ounce of humility. Richer than you, that's for sure. What are you, 12? Right on your level then, right? The grin widens, his canines bared sharp and large, and in genuine amusement. Alcar surveys me for a moment with his arms still crossed, but there is something else in his gaze now. After a moment, he laughs again but averts his eyes. I don't miss that. Nor do I miss the blush. It's definitely... I flirted my way into this mess, and I'll flirt my way out. Nor the fact that he can't seem to stop grinning.
You're a fucking riot, Hunter.
I aim to please. Seems your type. He rolls his eyes, looking none too upset. He leans closer suddenly, lowering his voice despite the empty tavern.
I don't know how much or how little you've decided to trust the Pomps in that workplace of yours. And I said all that shit about not trusting anyone. But just listen to me this once. Take that to Ezra, not your superior.
Oh, okay. Oh, shit. Okay. Tiger Lily T, so it's like the saying, if you love them, let them go. If they come back, then they were meant to be yours. Kind of, yeah. Very much along those lines. He regards me with besieging intensity, eyes flickering across my face like he's looking for some sort of give, something he can trust. I don't know if I can give it to him. Alcar's concerns for his own well-being I understand, but this is different. Yet I have no desire to bother Harry this morning, not after last night, and not over the inconclusive scrap of something that smells strange. August is another mystery altogether. Ezra does have a wonderful little shop full of witchy magic. In a town this small, I can only surmise he would be the one with the most tools at his disposal to suss out an analysis for something like this. It does make sense to go to him, which is all well and good because Alcar is beginning to look downright fidgety. Alright, I'll go to Ezra with this. Alcar stares at me for a second longer, like he doesn't know if I'm being honest. Eventually, however, his shoulders relax and he takes a step back.
Then my job's done. Hope you don't mind me quitting this place. The tavern's no fun when there's nobody here to annoy.
I mean, I'm here, you can come along. He drops into a mocking, half-assed bow, his tail swishing, and then all but squeezes himself out the door right past me before I can so much as frown. I stare where Alcar has already vanished, and I wonder for a moment if I should chase him down. He's no hunter, but I have a feeling, not entirely natural, that the thing out there isn't interested in lycans, witches, demons, or vampires. It's nothing to do with the killing pattern. It's... Sighing, I tuck my coat a little tighter around myself and reluctantly make to follow his path. Breakfast will have to wait. The shop is empty when I arrive, that comforting tinkle of a bell that sits above the door welcoming me. Ezra is nowhere to be seen, but I do spot a small white cat curled up at the foot of the shop counter. A curious creature, one that gives off the same soothing magical aura as her assumed owner. The purple curtain that separates the shop and living quarters twitches, and Ezra emerges clutching a cup of steaming tea.
I'm so relieved to see that you're okay.
My own tea's starting to get cold. The cat's ears twitch at the sound of his voice and she stretches, sauntering over to him and parading herself in between his legs. He ignores her, moving to place his tea upon the counter. I heard that you had to depart the festival quite abruptly. We were all worried. I nod politely, offering him a clipped smile. I did, unfortunately. I hope you've had enough rest. You look exhausted. Not that I'm surprised after what I assume was an incredibly late evening. Would you like some tea? The sash feels heavy on my coat, and as much as I enjoy exchanging pleasantries with the witch, I'm here for a reason. I actually need your help with something quite urgent. You do? What is it? Both the cat and Ezra watch me intently as I retrieve the sash, the violet bloodied fabric unfurling as I hold it up. The cat hisses, her hackles raise as she darts into the back room. That, paired with the look on Ezra's face, unnerves me, and I sigh heavily, exasperated as he rushes past me to lock the front door. Deadbolt and all. He faces the door, his palms splayed flat upon the window pane. It glows a pleasant shade of blue as he whispers what I assume to be a ward incantation before he turns to join me. Although we're quite clearly alone, his voice is tactfully quiet.
Where exactly did you get that?
The words rush out of him and his aura is panicked, so much so that I begin to feel a terrible sense of unease washing over me. It's right, I'm already down to like the last little sips of my tea, so I'm good. It's alright. Ezra is the one person I truly had no hesitation about trusting from the start, someone I thought I could rely on, but I find myself questioning his intentions. Could he possibly already know who this belongs to? And if so, how? Alcar found it in the woods last night. He told me to bring it to you and only you. He runs a hand through his curls, and I notice that it's shaking. Ezra, are you okay? Thanks for the stretch check. Thank you. A heavy exhale, and he closes his eyes, shaking his head before he meets my gaze.
I don't think you understand. This puts us all in danger.
What are you not telling me? Also, I'm just gonna quickly save again, just in case. Oh, Celtic Wolf. Oh, Steph, I've now subbed to your Patreon. I'm so happy. I've done so. You're one of the most wholesome content creators on YouTube and also Twitch. Keep up the fantastic word in the ASMR line of work. Thank you so much, Celtic Wolf Blood. I have big aspirations as a voice actor and actress, so I'm really excited that I have so many amazing people to follow me on my journey. Danger? I don't understand. It's just a sash. I simply hoped you could identify who it belonged to. You're aware of who its owner is, I assume, based on your reaction? I play dumb, disguising my interest and the fact that I know it's not the new victims. If he's hiding something, I'll find out. He moves around to the other side of the counter, nervously readjusting a pile of glowing crystals and pushing aside a dish filled with colourful gems. He spares me a glance when he takes a seat, and then he forces a smile. I have an inkling, yes. May I? He holds out his hand, which I observe is now perfectly steady. I'm hesitant to part with the scrap after that little display of uncertainty, but he seems to have collected his thoughts. Are you sure? He nods, wiggling his fingers impatiently.
As sure as I'll ever be. Now, let us get this over with.
Ooh, magic time. Oh, sorry, I know this is a serious moment, but my god, is the art gorgeous in this game. And Ezra just looks so pretty. As soon as the sash meets his palm, a bright emerald light emanates from his fingertips. The fabric hovers mid-air, suspended by vibrant whirls of magic. The movement of Ezra's hands is fluid like water as he commands his spell. I watch in awe as a mark forms before him, indecipherable shapes shifting and changing. His eyes are alight, brighter than ever, as the blood that coats the sash seems to pull away from the fabric, suspended alongside his magic. It's beautiful, a truly impressive display, but I ensure I don't take my eyes off him for even a second. His lips part, his brow deeply furrowed as he concentrates. He doesn't look pleased, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what he's doing, but whatever it is, I just hope that it helps. This is the first solid piece of evidence I've managed to get my hands on, and I refuse to rest until I get a name. A sharp inhale, and Ezra closes his eyes tight, the magic dissipating, and the sash falls and settles upon the wood. He drops his head, his knuckles tight as he grips the edge of the counter. I had a feeling. Ezra, work with me here. I need you to be honest. He looks scared, maybe even a little upset.
This is way bigger than me, but I can't in good conscience keep this from you.
I'm not sure if he's talking directly to me or if he's reassuring himself. I suspect it's the latter. I try to remain calm, and I truly am unsurprised that yet another person in this town has managed to refrain from divulging potentially valuable information. This sash belongs to a girl named Walker. He pushes away from the counter, putting distance between himself and the sash, eyeing it warily. And who exactly is Walker? Sorry.
I really shouldn't say anymore. I would hate for any harm to come to you because of me.
Ezra, I'm on this investigation for a reason. You need to tell me. Harm? Who would harm me over something as insignificant as a name? I'm growing increasingly more frustrated as the minutes pass by, and Ezra can tell. I know he's not stupid. If anything, he's too smart. I suppose he's just looking out for himself, but whatever knowledge he's retaining is clearly valuable, and I must know. I think back to what Omen said only a few nights ago, about Finn visiting less, about Ezra being tired all the time. Is this connected somehow? I will protect all of them, because I am strong and badass, and I know how to use my weapons. And if anyone wants to harm all my beautiful bows, I will engage them in fisticuffs. I cannot stop myself from going to him. The way he stares at the sash and the way all colour drains from his freckled cheeks has my heart aching. Ezra, it's okay. I'll never let anything happen to you.
I worry about you. I know that sounds foolish, but I care for you, and I will not be responsible for you getting hurt.
He wraps his arms around his waist, almost as if he's trying to hold himself together. I reach out with a tentative hand, and he steps forward. Without hesitation, I wrap my arms around him, our bodies seamed from shoulder to waist to hip. He buries his face into the crook of my neck, his hands splayed upon my back, his fingers curled tightly in my clothing. I hold him until I'm sure that he's not going to fall apart, until I know that he feels safe. Yes. Thank you. We reluctantly part, and I register the way his cheeks have darkened, his green eyes bright. Anytime. Ezra eventually shifts his weight, his breathing steadier than it had been, and he clears his throat.
Aya was a general. She was relatively new in town after being transferred here and was arrested quite suddenly. No one outside of the enforcers knows why. Like some dirty little secret.
Now that's suspicious. Hunters, especially of a general's rank, are very rarely thrown into the dungeon for minor transgressions. We're too valuable, so what did she do? I don't know what to do with this information. A young general being thrown into the dungeons is alarming, especially when there's no apparent reason. Treason, murder, unlawful torture, these are all things that I know hunters have been imprisoned for, but never without the public having full knowledge. Such events are not usually quiet ones. We have a redemption for Pick My Voice from Echo Vale. Miss Mimi, just wanted to see how you're doing this lovely evening. Also, my D&D players recently met a gentle fire genasi named Faith with a southern aspect. I'm sorry, I'm assuming that was accent, because yours inspired me to practice mine. Well, Echo, aren't you just an absolute darling? Let's see what little shenanigans we got ourselves into in this game. We have families and friends. We save lives. There must be something, somewhere, that tells me why she was stripped of her title and thrown in a cell. I take the sash from the counter and tuck it back inside my coat, and Ezra keeps a close eye on the movement, as if it may jump out and bite him. Who was her enforcer? Ezra throws me that look again, the one where he looks sad and reluctant. Gus. Of course, because I don't have enough on my plate already. He quickly scrambles to add to his statement, clearly not wanting me to think ill of August.
Only in the interim while her transfer was processed. She and Piper hit it off quite quickly, but she was gone before she had a chance to thrive.
I take a step towards the door, and Ezra nervously follows. Where are you going? He looks like he wants to reach out and stop me, but he thinks better of it. I'm going to clear my head before... I don't know. I reach to turn the locks, then for the handle, watching his warts shimmer and fade as he reluctantly waves his hand. Something begs at me to pause. Tell me, why are you so afraid?
I'm scared to learn the truth. I've only ever wanted to find somewhere to settle, somewhere quiet and away from the things that gave me nightmares. I found that here. I found love, a family, and yet...
Nothing lasts forever? He shakes his head.
Everything crumbles, eventually. That's why I'm afraid. I just want a normal life.
Oh, you sweet darling, you absolutely deserve that. We stare at each other down for a lingering moment, and I truly feel sorry for him, for everyone in this town. I assume that associating yourself with creatures doesn't grant you much peace. It does not. I drop my head, my mind swimming. People are dying and being thrown in dungeons. I've got your back, Ezra, just as long as you have mine. Thank you. Just stay safe. We need you. Chill air hits me as soon as I open the door of Ezra's shop and step outside. It hisses in my ears, piercing through my layers like it wants to chase me back indoors. I can think of no alternative more enticing, but my work is done here and I need to move on. Not a moment less well-timed, it seems, as I close the door and immediately notice a familiar face skulking about, just out of my vision until now. Owen startles when he realizes I've spotted him. He takes a full step away from me, one hand half raised, his tail lashing like a snake. For reasons I can't even begin to fathom, there's genuine fear on his face. Omen. The first thought to cross my mind is he's suspiciously distraught. The second is that it pains me to see him that way. Maybe a distraction is in order. I try to catch Omen's eye and wink at him. Speak of the devil, I was wondering where you were. Am I imagining that he stiffens at the words? It's hard to tell with how stiff he already is. It lasts for only a second before his face turns red. Maybe redder than just a blush. Something flickers in Omen's eyes, like embers about to burst to life, but he looks sideways too quickly for me to make sure. His aura churns, shifts, but doesn't change. Omen twists his strand of hair around one finger and tugs at it, tail twitching most anxiously, adorably. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you.
I wasn't upset, just surprised is all.
Echo, Mimi, I'm a bit curious about your time alive. How'd you spend your free time? Any hobbies? Well, as a well-educated lady like myself, I had a great number of hobbies. Most recently, I've gotten really interested in taking care of my beautiful motorbike. But yeah, while I was alive, I had a couple of different things that I like to do. I was very passionate about books, and writing as well. He glances at me again, very briefly, his brown eyes half hidden beneath long lashes. Omen swallows and that blush intensifies. But he is smiling, much to my delight. Tremulously, uncertainly, but he's smiling. After a moment, he even deigns to meet my eyes. Clearing his throat, Omen folds his arms together and seems to make a conscious effort to relax.
Thank you for worrying about me. I promise I stayed out of trouble.
Oh, good boy. I believe you. Omen blinks and smiles wider, his shoulders sinking in palpable relief. Okay, that's good to know. He looks at me intently, head tilted to one side. What about you? I heard that there was some kind of trouble? I'm unhurt. Omen's eyes flicker to Ezra's door, expression dubious. I wasn't seeing him because I was hurt, don't worry. Oh, okay. A moment of slightly awkward silence passes before he continues. I'm looking for someone. Omen says this very quietly, like he's confessing a secret. He scans my face with eyes flickering red rather than the usual warm brown. I wait since there's little else I can say. Then something seems to resolve. Omen looks from me to Ezra's door, then takes a step back, his mouth tight.
She's probably not in there. I should get going. It's nice seeing you again.
All right, and that comes to the end of that particular Pick My Voice. Thank you so much, Echo, for requesting Mimi. I think that my kind of southern drawl Texas accent has definitely improved over the years, and I've gotten a lot more confident with it, and I hope you all enjoyed that. He makes me turn away, and I don't know what moves me to act. Perhaps it's his aura, the way I suddenly sense it swell under his glamour and spot the wisps of flame trailing from his hair and the tips of his ears. Perhaps he's walking away and I simply can't let go right now. Perhaps I'm tired of one more fucking mystery in this town. Either way, I reach out and grab his wrist. Wait. And instantly regret it. Heat scorches my hand, forcing me to withdraw with a small cry. Omen looks over his shoulder at me with glowing amber eyes, his lips drawn back in a half snarl. His still eerily human face is framed by a wreath of fire. My guts clench, twists drop under the sudden glimpse of an immense, blistering presence that sprung out of nowhere. My instincts scream at me in warning. Demon. Then Omen jerks back as though out of a trance, and everything extinguishes. I don't know how long we stand outside Ezra's shop with the space of a sword swing between us. Omen's arms are limp by his sides, making no move to defend himself. All he does is stare at me with huge eyes and palpable horror.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, you hurt my hand, but it's okay. I force my mouth open to tell him it's all right. I've had worse, really, but I can only pry my jaw apart. The words I can't force through. He's not waiting to hear them. He's stepping away. 1, then 2, then 3, and he turns around and flees. I can't move my legs to follow. By the time I get enough control of myself back, Omen's already long gone. In hindsight, I'm glad I couldn't follow him. It takes a tremendous effort for me to pry my stiff fingers from the comfort of my weapon. I have been sitting in my room at the wharf waiting for the sun to set, waiting for darkness to fall so I can carry out my next move. No messenger had come to summon me to headquarters, and neither had August come to bang down my door. I gather that the identification of the deceased hunter is taking a little longer than expected. Or, many dark things cross my mind, but I push them away. I meant it when I said that I'm tired of being pushed from pillar to post, kept in the dark. Enough is enough. If this town wants saving, then I'll do it on my own terms. I love how, spunky we are and just, we're so determined and we're gonna get shit done one way or another. The door to August's office is thankfully unlocked, and I'm pleased to discover that it's empty. Oh, I'm going to save, actually, before I get too far ahead. The desk is in its usual disarray, papers and books haphazardly strewn across the surface. I take a deep breath and head straight for the filing cabinets I've seen August rummaging around through so often, and I carefully open the drawers. Apparently Piper has her own, a whole portion dedicated to her reports, an impressive feat. After much rummaging, I eventually find Aya's papers stuffed at the very back of the bottom drawer. If I didn't know what I was looking for, they'd have easily gone unnoticed. It certainly looks like August has tried to hide them, which only increases my suspicion. I find her transfer papers, a glowing letter of recommendation from her previous enforcer. Her records were clean with no discrepancies, nothing but praise. I see the words kind and thoughtful repeated multiple times, and the only complaint, if you can call it that her enforcer had is that she was overly cautious. Then I find it. Her discharge papers, an obnoxious red treason stamped across the front page. In the blink of an eye, the whole office lights up and the door loudly slams against the wall. Oh shit. Hi.
What are you doing?
Hi, August. Please don't be angry with me. You're very hot when you're angry and it's very distracting. I watch magic coat every surface, flowing and curling over the walls, floor, furniture. It even creeps over the clothing, their skin too. They stare at me wide-eyed, vivid violet swallowing the once blue iris of their eyes, the once ice blue of their irises, and though I should be more concerned that I've been caught, I'm distracted. August. The magic that glimmers upon their clothing disappears and their eyes lose that otherworldly glow, but the room remains alight. They look at the bundle of papers that I hold tightly in my hand, a frown furrowing their brow.
I would ask that you put those back, Hunter.
Their words are eerily calm and they seem more concerned than annoyed. What happened to her? They close the door, clicking the lock and checking the handle before they walk towards me. As poised and perfect as ever, they stare me down.
You know, not even Piper found those. I hate to admit that I'm impressed.
So you're not going to punish me then? August? They unfurl their fingers in a silencing gesture, and I pause. August is still my superior officer, and I am nothing if not respectful.
I do not wish for Piper to be demoted, nor do I wish for you to meet the same fate, but I appear to be having a case of déjà vu. But, you know, sometimes the hand that feeds is a forceful one.
I'm perplexed. I expected a much harsher conversation. August isn't exactly known for their calm temperament, and this is startlingly out of character. Hey, Doc Artemis, this game is absolutely amazing. We're on our second stream of this, so we're about maybe 5 or so hours into the game. So just a heads up, we're kind of getting into like some major plot stuff. Aren't you going to admonish me? With a sly smile, they shake their head. No, Stephanie, I am not. I
believe in you, strangely. I believe that you're a bright light at the end of a very, very dark tunnel for this town. And I have been questioning things lately.
What kind of things? The look that crosses their face breaks my heart. It's one of shame. I long to comfort them, but these papers weigh heavy in my hands. August, please, I can't take any more dishonesty. I'm here to help. I want nothing more than for all of this pain to stop. They drop their gaze, apparently unable to look at me. I'm here for you. Their cheeks flush pink, mouth set in a thin, nervous line. I do not deserve it. I got myself in this mess by... They catch themselves.
I do not deserve it.
I cross the room, the papers discarded, and I stand face to face with them. Help me, August. I tentatively reach for their hand, and they take it without question, lacing their long fingers with my own. The markings brighten, thrumming in time with what I assume is August's hammering pulse. People are terrified, and I think you are too. What did this girl do to deserve to be forgotten?
If I told you that I do not know, would you believe me?
I run my thumb along the back of their hand. I look deep into those eyes that seem to hold the universe. I would.
Then you must be a fool.
I laugh quietly, reaching up to curb the curve of their jaw with my free hand. They lean into my touch as if they've craved it for an eternity. This game gets it. Then a fool I'll be. Work with me here, August. We can help each other. Fix this together. Something in my gut tells me that this really is all connected, and this doesn't exactly comfort me. The very institution that I work for, that I've dedicated my life to. I move to pull out the sash and let it unfurl, holding it before them, and August's eyes grow wide. Who does this belong to? A.O. Walker. Their expression is unchanging. I see. It's bloodied. I nod, handing it to them. They carefully lay it across their palm, studying it intently. Heavily and torn to shreds, whatever happened, she put up a fight. They frown, their lips pursed. Something is clearly perplexing them.
She was not reported to be injured upon her arrest. That much I do know. Something like that wouldn't be omitted.
I throw them a sorry stare, wondering how they could still be so sure of such things. You're positive the blood is hers? I want to tell them how I know, but I can't implicate Ezra nor Alcar, not after they were both so clearly terrified. I'm sure, and I'm going to need you to trust me on that. Strangely, they don't question it. Instead, they sigh, placing the sash upon their desk. She was yours, August. Don't you want to know what happened to her? I want to see her, to visit the dungeon. They glance out of the window, and another heavy snowfall coats the icy street outside.
I think you need to take a seat. I have a few confessions.
Finally, some more honesty. I can hear the rush of my pulse pounding in my skull as I take a seat, my heart trying to escape the restrictive cage of my ribs as I stare mine forced down. Doc Artemis, thank you so much for the 5-month resub. It's been a while since I could afford a sub, but things are starting to come together, so a good use of what I have. Doc Artemis, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad to hear that you're also prioritizing your own financial needs. That's what I always ask, is that people take care of their own finances first before considering supporting me. So I very much appreciate it. Thank you. August's fingers are visibly trembling. All color is drained from their skin, and I'm fearful that they might faint. They draw in a shuddering breath and reach for one of the drawers in their desk, pulling out a vial that glows a vivid lavender. I recognize it from the very first time I met them back in Ezra's shop, which strangely feels like forever ago. The way they've demanded it from him was with the desperation that I haven't seen in them since, but it stuck with me nonetheless. At first I think they might pop the cork and swallow it whole, their eyes hungry as they shake it, watching the viscous liquid swirl and brighten. They don't though. Instead they place it in the middle of the desk. They proceed to sit on their hands, and I gather that it's a precautionary measure to prevent themselves from indulging. What is this? They cleared their throats, unable to meet my concerned gaze. This is what I've been reduced to. Ezra gave this to you? They nod and I reach for the vial. They watch intently, their throat bobbing as they swallow thickly. The room flares to life as I pop the cork, and August shifts in their seat. It smells fragrant, almost citrusy. It's certainly not as unpleasant as I anticipated.
It is not harmful if used as intended. Ezra could never create such things. He is not interested in enabling me, but I may have pressured him. I may have taken advantage of it, hence the nature in which my magic has been manifesting lately. Just another thing to add to the long list of regrets I seem to have accrued lately.
I look around the room, now understanding how such a display is possible. What does it do exactly? I can feel a crackle in the air, an obvious shift in tension.
My magic draws from the mind, and when using it often I tend to grow weary faster than most. It's a weakness I'm not proud of, and I cannot be viewed to be weak when in such a position in this agency.
They gesture towards the vial and I lay it back upon the desk. Therefore, this affords me the ability to replenish my mana, to put myself to use whenever required. Psionic abilities such as my own are rare, so I am required quite often. There are quite obviously side effects though. Your health is more important than your notoriety, August. They seemed taken aback by that statement, maybe even a little embarrassed. Yes, and I see that now.
I've been a little blinded by the desire to impress. But the harder I look, the more I realize that I might be pushing myself to the limit for a broken cause.
I blanch at that. Those words coming from Augus's mouth seem unreal. It's a casually honest statement, painfully honest even, and certainly not something that I could imagine the enforcer I met just a week ago daring to utter.
Too many questionable things have happened right under my nose. And I was too blinded by my determination to succeed to see.
Aya, Piper, the murders. We need to go back to the start, examine the root. The root being the agency, the enforcers? With a small nod, they lift their eyes to the ceiling, speaking their next words with great effort. Yes, the enforcers. Then why bring me here? That I cannot answer. I wish I could. Okay, I am going to prioritize my girl Piper. What's up with their relationship? You mentioned that you didn't want Piper to be demoted, so what happened? Their gaze flickers to the side, staring out of the window at the snowy street. After Aya's arrest, Piper became unsettled, rightfully so now I look back.
She wouldn't stop rambling about a theory she had about the agency. Corruption, slander, all nonsense to me at the time. She was caught trying to break into the dungeons and rifling through my files. Just like you were this evening.
Yeah. I clear my throat, offering them an apologetic grin. I was too infuriated to truly think straight, and before I got the chance to defuse the situation, Harry caught wind. I regret the way I dealt with it. Piper was a good friend before this mess began. I should have helped her. I let her down. Their gaze meets mine, and they somehow seem more concerned for me than they are for themselves. You and Piper, you are friends? Hard to believe now, I know. But yes, we were. Close enough for her to convince me to arm wrestle her. They absentmindedly rub their elbow as if nursing an old injury. Don't do that. Ever. The way they light up when they talk about such memories doesn't go unnoticed, and I feel a pang of sorrow for their lost friendship. They both seem like they could do with such company in their lives, and now I understand why they're noted as being so prolific as a team. You should speak to her and clear the air. The look they throw me is less than convincing.
Piper is a proud person. She's been wronged by someone she trusted, and she does not trust freely. I wouldn't expect her to forgive me without much begging, but I shall try.
I truly valued our friendship, and I've been cruel to her in my mission to please Harry. That ends now. Tell me about Aya. They rest their elbows upon the desk, steepling their fingers. There's not much to tell, really. She transferred here only a few months ago. We'd barely become acquainted when she was arrested, though Piper took a liking to her. A small smile crosses their lips. They worked well together, and I finally got to catch up on a ridiculous amount of paperwork I've been accruing during my time spent in the field with Piper. Why were you in the field?
Well, things have been a little busier than usual here in Lunaris lately. Creature activity has been at an all-time high these past few years, and Piper and I made an unstoppable team.
Oh. I contemplate that for a moment, for any peak in activity is usually for a reason. It's been worse these past few years? Not always this bad? They shake their head. Not always, but it almost seems normal now. I make a mental note to remember this, to pry later. So her arrest. One day she was just gone? No explanation? It was reported that she went on an unsanctioned hunt. I wasn't aware, and neither was Piper. We never saw her again. I reach for the papers that sit upon the desk between us. Harry's signature is clear as day. You didn't question it? An uncomfortable shift, a squirm almost. I did not. You don't question Harry. He's given me no reason to. I watch them carefully, the furrow in their brow deepening as they quite clearly second-guess their own statement. Something isn't right here, and Aya's situation feels too convenient to me. Don't you agree? With a sharp inhale, they sit back in their chair. A little of their tension seems to melt away, but the sadness still lingers. I do. August pushes away from their desk, swiping the still glowing vial as they stand. They cradle it gently in their palm before it's shoved firmly into a drawer from whence it came. What next? What can we do? I think you should speak to Piper. She might know more than me, especially after her snooping. I stand too, my touch lingering upon those discharge papers. I want to go into the dungeons. I want to see her. They avert their gaze, cheeks rosy, their frustration evident.
I cannot authorize that. Not when I know it would put your position in jeopardy.
They thoughtlessly slide their hand across the back of their chair, cutting me a sympathetic stare. I can't have a repeat of what happened with Piper, Stephanie. I got this. Their concern is etched all over their face and it makes my heart hurt. I realize that they truly do care for me. The guilt from what happened with Piper obviously eats at them, and maybe our added closeness makes it a little more personal to them. Maybe. August, I swear to you that nothing will happen to me. I know what I'm doing. You seem very sure of that. Of yourself. I can't lose you two. It's different than it was with Piper. They avert their gaze, worrying their bottom lip between their teeth. When they look back at me, they take a step forward, reaching for my hand.
I care for you. And that may sound idiotic. I know we've only been acquainted for a mere week, but...
I squeeze their fingers where they lazily twine with my own, almost as if August is unsure if their affection will be returned. I feel it too. Oh, I see. Well, then I'm sure you can understand my predicament here. I nod because I do understand. I would hate to see August punished for any sin, for any of my own. I would hate to see August punished for any of my actions. I do, but I need you to trust me on this one. I won't do anything that gets either of us in trouble. Thanks for the stretch check, Sam. Their hand falls limply from my own, their gaze nervously flickering towards the very locked door. I do trust you. I just don't trust anyone else. Whatever you have in mind, be careful. I smile because I know exactly what I need to do, and who I need to help me do it. They watch me intently, lips quirking into a small smile as they watch my face light up. You have a plan, don't you? I do, but I'm not sure you're going to like it. You may not approve, but we have a few allies that probably know the dungeons better than any hunter or enforcer ever could. The dramatic and sudden roll of their eyes tells me they know exactly who I'm talking about. You want to enlist a bunch of vampires to help us break into the enforcement dungeons? Not a bunch. Just the one. Finn has lived in this town longer than literally anyone. August scoffs, loudly. Lived. He's dead as a doornail. So you're just going to walk into the dungeons, Casimir in tow, and hope not to get caught? I smile at their obvious distaste for my plan. Ezra, Piper, even Alcar, they could all help too. Do I have your permission to proceed? A pregnant pause follows my question, but eventually August meets my gaze once more. You have my permission. But please be cautious. I'm no wiser than you here, and I cannot protect you if something goes wrong.
I came here to make something of myself. I was so desperate to move out of the shadows of my parents. I come from a family that held me to such high standards. Standards I could never dream of meeting, no matter how hard I tried.
Their words grow terser as the seconds pass, unraveling gradually.
I don't want this to be my legacy. I want to make the world a better place, not a scarier one.
Oh. I gather that August has suffered through much frustration, and life has weathered them to the bone. They quickly gather themselves. I won't let you down. I don't doubt that, actually. I head back to my room at the wharf to clear my head, and try to figure out my hastily concocted plan a little more thoughtfully. Let's save... I stay up pondering the fact that we still haven't been given the name of the latest victim, and I wonder if Harry is keeping it from me for a reason. After my conversation with August, everything feels wrong. A quick sharp pain rises in my temples. I feel that familiar presence lurking. Despite that, it would appear that no voices will visit me tonight. Because apparently nothing is sacred in this town, I managed to coax Piper's address out of Edna with very little persuasion. I head across the street, unsurprised that she lives so close to the tavern, and as far away from the headquarters as possible. Her house is small, but it appears to have character, much like its owner. I take a deep breath and I knock. Casual Piper, looking amazing. She looks surprised to see me, but her expression quickly softens.
I wasn't expecting you, especially because I assumed you had no bloody idea where I live. Are you okay?
A timid smile crosses my lips. I definitely don't think this is the conversation to be had in the street. Can we talk? Oh, sorry. Of course. Come in. I love her place. It feels so warm and inviting, and there's so many knives on the walls. Her house is warm and inviting. The walls adorned with an abundance of gorgeous weaponry, and various plants and brightly coloured pillows litter the room. Exquisite vibes. Exquisite vibes. Your home is beautiful. Thank you. I've been lucky, really. I know not all hunters catch a break like I have. Plus, real estate in this shithole is cheap. We share a laugh, but I can't help but feel a sense of urgency to discuss things with her. I decide now is not the time for pleasantries or stalling. Cutting straight to the chase is the only way. I have some news about Aya. Aya? Aya. Aya. Her eyes widen, flicking to the side, away from me. Aya?
Please don't say what I think you're going to.
I pull the sash from inside my coat and present it to her, but I'm quick to reassure. This was found in the woods, but that doesn't mean... She could still be alive, Piper. This has clearly been out there for a while. She reaches out and runs her hand over the ruined fabric, her fingers shaking. With a deep inhale, she withdraws, turning to sit upon the arm of her sofa. Why are you here? She looks so sad, like she's only thinking the worst. I don't blame her, and I can't imagine how frustrated she must feel with the hand she's been dealt. I wanted you to know that I spoke to August last night. They were quite honest with me about everything, really. Oh, they were, huh?
I suppose they told you why I was demoted. I acted without rational thought. I was so angry.
I offer her a smile, trying to catch her gaze. I may or may not have been caught doing exactly as you did. You didn't. I nod, feeling a little smug now the fear of being reprimanded by my enforcer has dissipated. I broke into Augustus Willenheim's office and lived to tell the tale.
Fucking brilliant. You've got guts. I'll give you that.
I like you. I shrug, brushing it off. I'm grateful that the mood has shifted to something that feels a little lighter. You know, August regrets how everything happened. They seemed wistful. I think they miss your friendship. She frowns deeply, fiddling with the edge of her tunic.
They hurt me. I think it'll take me a while to get over that.
Understandable.
It wasn't even about the punishment. It was that they didn't believe me. You work with someone for all that time, but when it came down to it, they thought I'd gone mad. Why would I make up such a thing? Everyone jokes about us and our instincts, but they don't understand. When we feel something, we really feel it, you know?
I nod because I do know. Whatever lies within us that grants us our abilities is something we cannot shake or ignore. If we sense someone is in pain or they're scared, we feel it in kind. If we love fully. If we can feel that something feels off, it usually is. They employ us to do what we do for a reason. I wish they'd have a better understanding of what or how we feel. She scoffs a quiet laugh, rolling her eyes and offering me a small smile. If only...
If August wishes to make amends, I welcome their apology, but it will take me a while to trust them again. I was humiliated and betrayed by one of my only friends. They've got some begging to do.
Now that I'd like to see. Shit, me too. I'll get you a front row seat if that ever happens, alright? Deal. Now, I have a proposition. Oh? We're doing this together. Come on then, what's this proposition, dear General? We're going into the dungeons. You what? She bursts into laughter, her shoulders shaking. Then a pause, and she registers that I might not be joking. Wait, you're serious? I can't help but laugh at her furious expression.
You're a real idiot, you know? Are you jealous of my shameful demotion or something? Being a major isn't that exciting. Why are you grinning like that?
I take her hand and she immediately tugs me closer. Because we're doing it together, so we'll be just fine.
You're so cheesy. I really don't know why I like you so much.
She shoves me away playfully, her eyes sparkling. So, come on then, what's this plan? I'm still putting the pieces together. You inspired me, though. Good to know some good comes out of my suffering, I suppose. Do you have any tips? Any kinks you encountered on your journey? Interesting choice of words. The fact that I didn't even get to the door would indicate that I failed pretty miserably, wouldn't you say? There are wards, there are guards. It's pretty impossible unless... Unless? Well, you know Ezra, don't you? That witch is more than a pretty face. Speak to him, see if you can convince him to help. She's right. I've seen him use wards in his shop, and from what I saw of his magic the other day... You're a genius. She shrugs as if that's the most obvious statement I could have made. I'm a little concerned that maybe just by picking that, then Finn won't lead us through the dungeon, but I said I was going to pick like the flirtatious routes just to see what would happen. Duh. When you're ready, you know I've got your back. Always. Upon entering the shop, I find chaos. I spot Ezra frantically gesturing at Omen, the demon's tail tightly coiled. I'm wary of approaching him after our little incident yesterday, instead choosing to observe from afar. I manage to catch Ezra's eyes, and he throws me a sympathetic look. He's stressed, his hands full of bandages and potions. He mutters something quick and sharp under his breath to Omen, who then turns and stares at me with wide, sorry eyes as the witch disappears through his purple curtain. If I ask what's going on, will you give me an answer? The question seems to catch him by surprise. Then he looks away, his lips pursed. He doesn't seem to have forgotten his outburst with me yesterday, or his abrupt departure. Good. It isn't my intention to trip him with a reminder, but just as well that he remembers. Did you bring someone in who was hurt? Brown eyes snap to me almost instantly, and Omen moves as though to step between me and the entrance to Ezra's back room, then catches himself in the middle and forcibly drops his arms to his sides. He opens his mouth, stammers without speaking, then his shoulders droop in defeat. A little spark that might have caught on the bandage rolls in his hand peters out.
Yes, but maybe you shouldn't see her right now. I mean...
He licks his lips, a flick of his black tongue visible. It seems so eerily out of place on a face so painfully human in its distress.
At least let Ezra see to her first. He needs some space when he works his magic.
Who is there? Who's in the back room? I'm sure our guest is alright. I haven't seen Omen this nervous before, in an admittedly brief time we've known each other, and his fear sets me on edge. Carefully and deliberately, so as not to spook him, yesterday's almost burn is still fresh in my mind. I step forward and put a hand on his arm, squeezing it gently. I'm sure our guest will be alright. Ezra is tending to them after all. Omen blinks at me, then smiles and leans into my touch, visibly relaxing. He's a beacon of warmth in the cold room. His power is wound tight to his core. I feel it under the glamour and the convincing illusion of fabric under my arm, but he won't let it loose. Won't let it hurt me. Yes, you're right. Whoever they are. Despite my gentle prod, he still presses his lips tightly together. For a moment I fear I've caused him to clamp down again after all, but he takes a deep breath and very gently shakes me off. Another deep breath. Omen is steeling himself for something, I can see it. I decide to back off as well, giving him some space. He shoots me a glance, then hugs the items he's holding closer. When he speaks again, his voice is very soft. Hunter Swan, no, Stephanie, I have something I must tell you. I'm listening. Omen smiles, though it's brief and weak, and also quick to disappear like candlelight in a storm. His eyes lose focus as he begins to speak.
2 years ago, I came to Lunaris. That is, I came to stay in Lunaris. after a disagreement with my sire, my father.
Oh no. He's got daddy issues. His eyes flicker around the room almost nervously, and I find myself straining to detect any eavesdropping presence. But there is none. Omen seems to find the same thing because his shoulders droop again.
You know what I am. I suppose you've already guessed.
He sighs.
Your people call him Lucifer, I think. The fallen divine. The Lord of Hells.
He's the son of Lucifer. Oh no. But oh yes, but oh, this is getting interesting. It takes me a moment to process what he said. Demon lore is plentiful and easily accessible when you're a hunter. Even in our early years at the academy, we pored over detailed logs of their fiendish hierarchies, favourite vices to exploit, patterns of their appearances. I would damn well hope I know who the Lord of Hells is. Oh, that is very nice. Omen's brown eyes widen, his jaw going slack in surprise. The glamour truly is something, and I'm starting to wonder if he learned it from the witch behind the curtains. It is? He coughs.
That was sarcasm, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was not sarcasm.
No, it was not. Something else also hits me. Ow, sire? Omen bites his lip and looks away. Then he nods curtly, eyes flickering at the door leading into the shop. Well then, does your father know you're here? In the mortal realm? Can he find you? A terrible thought crosses my mind. The burned bodies, the hunters targeted. Oh no. Oh, fuck. Are we gonna have to fight the fucking devil? No. The vehemence of his denial is startling. I quickly hold up my hands for peace, but Omen isn't paying attention. He's shaking his head vigorously, trembling.
No, that can't be him. Him or any of his minions. I would have known. I would have stopped them.
Oh, he's angry. His eyes still went all demony and he's all... Oh, it's okay, Omen. It's okay. I'm an idiot. With the revelation that his father is Lucifer, his name is fucking Omen. I've seen The Omen. I've seen a lot of the movies in the franchise of The Omen. God damn it, why didn't I see that earlier? Fuck. Again, the developers know their shit. His brown eyes are glowing with fire as he stares at me pleadingly, literal simmering flames. I can feel the fire in his core standing here, far enough away, and now that I know where it comes from, the familiarity makes sense. That's one hell of a secret to hold on to. And who is that in the back then? One more colossal fact to add to this messy little mountain of information I've been gathering since stepping foot into this mad town. What else is new by now? I believe you, Omen. Omen's shoulders droop in relief, and I feel something tense inside myself unclench as well. It need not end badly. It will not. Besides, this case would have closed far faster if it was a run-of-the-mill demons messing about. Right. Omen closes his eyes and says something too quiet for me to hear. Then he breathes in, breathes out, and slowly makes his way to the counter. He sets all the items in his arms down, there, with such deliberateness he sets all the items in his arms down, there, with such deliberateness I know he is doing so to calm his nerves. Something sneaks through still. I see a flicker of flame about his hair, an intensity to his aura. But only briefly. The pressure fades as Omen raises his head. He doesn't look at me as he speaks.
I think I'll just head outside for some fresh air.
Okay. Are you sure? Omen smiles at me over his shoulder, the curve of his mouth tense.
I think it's for the best. I don't want her to see me like this. Rattled and angry. She's my sister. She doesn't deserve it.
Oh, is your sister hurt? He trails off, staring into the distance for a moment. Then he shakes his head and makes for the door, only adding one last thing before he steps outside.
Will you go and say hello to her? I'm sure Elaine will find you quite lovely.
I'd be happy to meet her. Okay, not gonna lie, that hair from the color and like That is almost like mine, except for the fringe. Holy shit. She is stunning. Hi. The second I lay my eyes on her, it's more than a little obvious that she truly is related to Omen. Maybe even its twin, unless the glamour is simply fooling me. Ezra has a poultice carefully pressed to her dainty hand, a pile of gauze covered in a thick black ichor discarded upon the counter by his side. She blinks at me once, twice. Her eyes are big and brown and every bit as earnest as Omen's. Hello. Her voice is disarmingly sweet, almost musical even. I smile at her politely, looking to Ezra for a little guidance. Elaine, this is Stephanie. Stephanie, this is Elaine, Omen's twin sister. Ah, yes. I assume Ezra was just as unaware of her existence as I am, but he's polite enough to stay calm and focused, as friendly and as hospitable as ever. It's nice to meet you, Elaine. She has advanced beyond the top button to a close-fitting collar. She is in total command. It seems apparently in the Hells they have discovered top button technology. And she commands it with grace and poise. Oh, you too? Elaine narrows her eyes at me for a brief moment, shaking her head. She looks terrified. She addresses Ezra, but she certainly keeps her eyes on me, on my weapon. Where is Amaros? I look at Ezra, my confusion quite evident. Amaros? Ah, yes, that. Her face lights up when I say his name, but I gather that she doesn't fully understand my trepidation. Ezra turns to address the demon, patting her hand gently. He's just outside, and you're all healed up, but I do think you should go and see your brother now. Oh, Omen's... I assume that's his demon name. Oh, okay. Yes, I should. Ezra releases her, throwing me a sorry look over his shoulder as he turns to quickly dispose of the mess of medical supplies. It was lovely to meet you, Stephanie. Her demeanor is delightful, and I'm still slowly processing exactly what her brother just told me. Yes, you too. She glances at me briefly before shyly averting her gaze, turning to meekly part the curtains that lead into the shop. Hey! The second she's gone, a tall, pale figure bursts... Oh no, wait, Amaris was the brother. Sorry, it's been a week since I last played this game, so I forgot Amaris was the name of the other brother. Okay. The second she's gone, a tall, pale figure bursts through the back door. He looks shocked to see me, but quickly recovers. Is she healed? She's fine, and she's with her brother. I suggest you give them space for the time being. Ezra's words are final and somewhat stern, and Almaris quickly wilts under his vibrant green gaze, his eyes still lightly glowing from whatever magic he just performed. I don't really know how to unpack all of this. What happened to her, and why are you so desperate to be by her side? He stares longingly at the curtain, Elaine's voice quiet on the other side. Then I remember the note on the stoop of the Abeck, the little heart. Zes Hewa. Oh, well, I'm courting her, you see. Amaris is courting Omen's sister? Oh, that's cute. Oh, they're cute together. I could see that. We're together. She was attacked last night by it. The one who's been getting to your kind, I think. Ezra and I share a look, doing little to hide our shock. It, as in the creature? Amaros closes his eyes, sighing heavily. Then he nods. Yes.
If you need to tell us something, we can help. Elaine didn't need to get hurt, so if you know where this thing is...
He looks at me, then back at Ezra, his throat bobbing as he swallows thickly. He's quite clearly battling with the idea of divulging any more information. I'm not going to push him, I'm just going to gently encourage him, but I am just going to save it just in case this choice ends up being tricky. Amaris, it's okay. You can trust us. We just want to help.
She's right. No one will know what you tell us. We just want people to be safe.
He sighs again, his shoulders sinking into defeat. I just want her to be safe. We can see you care for her a great deal, and we want that too. His ice blue eyes quickly flicker between each of us. It's the most animated I've seen him. Why are you being nice to me? My sister and I... He trails off, almost looking right through me. If you have information about the creature, we need to know. People are dying, so I find it hard to hold your beliefs against you if you can offer assistance. Very well. Aurora's been sneaking out at night as of late. That's not exactly uncommon for her, but I believe she's doing more than satisfying her baser urges. Ezra looks away, covering a quiet cough with his hand. We don't have time to unpack all of that, but I'll store it away for later. What do you suspect? So my internet basically went kaput. Has Steph found true love yet? I have found love with almost all of the cast of this game. Look at his pose. He has the bottom to her top. Amaris is definitely giving me much more submissive vibes, and Elaine seems so sweet, but I can definitely kind of sense that she is a very powerful entity, and maybe they're also soft and sweet together, but she's definitely very powerful. I suspect nothing. I know that she's feeding it, or something at least. Feeding it? He seems unfazed, startlingly so. She may seem cruel and cold, but Aurora has a good heart. She cares for the creatures and makes sure they're safe. Excuse me. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I maybe ate my dinner a little bit too quickly tonight, and so I've got a little bit of the burps. Can I see Elaine now? Can you maybe elaborate a little on that first? He shrugs, sighing again. She is a gentle dom to his eager bottom. You know what, Sam? I kind of see it. And they're very cute together. I wish them every happiness. He shrugs, sighing again. It is what it is. I don't dictate to her what she can and cannot do. I find myself losing interest in our preachings. I just want to keep Elaine safe now. Ideally, we'll leave this wretched place for good, but... Her and Omen have only just reunited. Would she be so quick to leave him? Maybe not. I think it's best for both of you to stay here and lay low. I'm not sure why the creature attacked her, but it hasn't attacked anything inhuman so far. He looks at me, fixes my gaze, and with perfect confidence. How do you know? A chill rolls down along my spine, but I shake it off. You're right, I don't. I'd really like to leave now. You can leave, then I need you to promise me something. He narrows his gaze. Go on. Watch Aurora, and the second you see her do anything out of the ordinary, you find me. I will ensure Elaine is safe, I swear to you, but your cooperation is essential. I see Ezra shifting nervously out of the corner of my eyes, but I stand my ground. Amaris continues to assess me. Fine, I will seek you out, and I will watch my sister. Farewell, Hunter. Witch.
Well, that was interesting.
We learnt a great deal. I anticipate some commotion from behind the curtain, but I hear nothing but silence. Interesting is putting it lightly. How are you, by the way? I half a quick laugh because the question feels far too casual for the amount of information I've digested in the last forever. Tired, confused, the usual. I suppose I haven't done much to help with that, have I?
I wanted to apologize for not being totally honest with you and for making your life a little harder than necessary. You already have so much on your plate.
He seems genuine, and aside from his odd behavior yesterday, I have no reason not to trust Ezra. I spoke to August last night, and Piper this morning. They know about the sash. Fear flashes across his features, but I quickly reassure him. It's fine, Ezra. They're on our side. They want to help. Even Gus? Yes, even August. Are you sure you're not magic? Because that seems like an impossible task. I shake my head profusely. No magic here. His smile grows and he seems to relax exponentially. It's nice to see. Then let's talk. He takes a deep breath.
The reason I was so hesitant to discuss Aya, or the Enforcers for that matter, is because I used to work for them.
Oh, okay. You were an Enforcer?
Hell no. I went in and I assisted in the infirmary or morgue whenever they needed an extra pair of hands. Healers, good healers, are few and far between around here. It's what I always wanted to do, to apply my skills where most needed. Helping those who dedicate their lives to ensuring our safety was an honor. The murders began, and I examined the first body. You can even call it that in the state that it was in.
I listened intently, taking all of this in, a little perplexed, a little caught off guard.
Something shifted within the headquarters after that. They started treating me differently, called me in less. And then, when I was there, they kept me clear of any hunters. It became quite clear they didn't want me there any longer. Information was being kept from me, important notes about the victims I was supposed to be examining. The Aya incident happened, then another dead hunter turned up, and they revoked my access.
They took away all of my notes. Notes? He nods, glancing over at the kitchen counter. Of course the PC is hot. It's Stephanie. She's like a freshly forged sword. Correct. I may have had Piper retrieve them for me. If you'd like to take them, there's not much, but you're welcome to them. Yeah, I'm going to take a look at the notes. And part of the investigation, I'm just going to save as a precaution, just in case. Because I'm paranoid. Yes, I'll take them. He opens one of the kitchen drawers, pulling out a pile of parchment. Then he discards what looks like a fake wooden bottom. The notebook is nestled safely beneath it. Here. I tuck it away inside my jacket for later. So why are you so afraid to tell me this? You did nothing wrong, you were helping people. He offers me a sorry gaze, his brow furrowed, fingers curled into fists at his side.
They don't like people talking about it, about the deaths. Many of us have our suspicions now, and they know. I think they'd do anything to keep what's happening quiet.
Like not telling me who the latest victim is. Exactly. I wasn't even sure if I could trust Gus, but I wanted so badly that I pushed my apprehension aside. You were right to trust them. They're on our side. They're scared too. Oh, Gus. I just want all of this to be over. What are we gonna do? I smile and Ezra's expression lights up. You have a plan? I have a plan. I need the whole team behind this. I can't do this without you. I look deep into his eyes, hoping I can wash away some of the weight that he carries. The toll this has taken on him is obvious. I can't do this without you, Ezra. I need you. Anything you need, Stephanie. I trust you. I smile, taking his hand when he offers it, and he squeezes mine tightly. Together. Together. Piper and I are going into the dungeons to see if we can locate Aya. If we can talk to her, I think we might have a start. Everything leads back to when she was arrested, as far as I can tell. How on earth are you going to get down there without being caught? That's where you come in. It may involve you and August working together. Does Gus know about this little plan of yours? I grimace, waving my hand in a so-so gesture. Partially.
You're lucky I trust you, and I'm here for you. Just tell me when and where.
Thank you, Ezra. Now, how can I find Finn? Why, a secret passageway, of course. You're in the right place. He bends down, kicking aside a colourful rug to reveal that hidden hatch. It creaks loudly when he opens it, a gust of cold, stale wind rising from its depths.
Walk for about 10 minutes, and then when you see candlelight, it's the third door on the left. Don't be alarmed by any vampires you stumble across. They're all friendly.
So, you just have a direct tunnel to Finn's place, and Finn can just pop in and see you whenever he likes? Okay. Good for you two. I nod, taking a deep breath. I lower myself into the hatch, gazing up at him with a smile. See you around. The incessant drip, drip, drip of water guides me forward through the darkness. The stench of damp and decay fills my nostrils as I sink deeper into the corridors of the catacombs. The pitch-black path is long and winding, and the only sound I can hear is the tap of my boots on the wet stone. before we continue, I actually just want to grab a quick drink and use the restroom quickly. So before we get into the next part, because I'm happy to keep going for maybe another half hour or so, because I'm not tired and I've got tomorrow off work. So I'm just going to put up the BRB screen. I'm going to step away for a second. You guys behave yourselves accordingly. I'm just going to save quickly. And I will be back in just a moment. And I return. I trust you all behaved yourselves while I was gone. Scarlet kept you all in line. I did get myself a little drink of something. I haven't had it in a really long time, actually. It's just some Becherovka, sorry. It's essentially like a very amazing liqueur from the Czech Republic that I really like. It's the closest equivalent I can kind of pin down is like Jägermeister, but it's served cold and it's like a digestive that you just like sip a little bit at the end of an evening. But it has really nice like herbal flavors to it. So it's sweet, it's very herbal, I really like it, and it's very much kind of in keeping with the atmosphere of this game. Yes, that's the very herbal one. Oh, Lordy Lamb, don't know what I came into, but Steph, you are slaying. Thank you so much, Vince, and thank you so much for dropping by. This game is spicy and sweet, and it is wonderful, and so it's inspired me to get a little bit more theatrical with my makeup. Alrighty, let's continue, shall we? The pitch black path is long and winding, and the only sound I can hear is the tap of my boots on the wet stone. Eventually, I see candlelight flickering ahead, and it would appear that I've finally found life. Well, kind of. I remember to look for the third door on the left, just as Ezra had instructed, but as I approach, I find it wide open. Oh my god, sorry, his room Finn's room looks so much like my room, with just books everywhere. Like, if you saw what my sleeping area is like, it is literally surrounded by books. I peek inside, and the stark contrast between the little tomb outside and what I find in what is most definitely Finn's quarters is astounding. I mean, maybe I have a skull next to my bed. Maybe. Before I get the chance to take in the view, a cool breeze brushes past me, ruffling my hair and sending goose flesh prickling across my skin. Hi. A small, darkly clad girl appears before me in a flash, her eyes the brightest crimson as they bore into me. She stands with her head tilted and a toothy grin crossing dark lips. Are you lost, human? She stares me down, wide-eyed and quite clearly trying to intimidate me, but she seems playful? I'm here to see Finn. She relaxes at the sound of his name, and her striking gaze sweeps over me like a caress. She shrugs, pursing her lips. So you're the one he won't shut up about, huh? Well, you do smell good, I guess. Smell good? Is Finn here? I mean, I'm flattered that he's kind of talking a little bit about me, and he says apparently that I smell really nice. She licks a fang, and I notice how similar some of her more human quirks are to his. She's far less poised than him, but I almost feel like this may be on purpose. I'm in Finn's territory here, neutral territory, so I quell the desire to be defensive, even though her eyes are the colour of a creature who drinks human blood. He's somewhere here, around, doing stuff. Helpful. Her smile widens and she turns to poke at a crystal decanter of whiskey that sits nestled in the corner of one of his many bookcases. He drinks whiskey. He is made for me. Sorry, this game just gets me, okay? It makes me very happy. It is just like tailor-made to my own tastes. And I love it. Are you part of the clan? A quick nod, almost too quick to catch. I am. She pours the rich amber liquid into a glass, swirls it, sniffs it with a dramatic grimace, and sets it aside untouched. Her nose is still crinkled in barely disguised disgust when she looks at me again. I wish that thing that you're looking for would stop killing hunters, you know, because that means that more of your type will come. Then more enforcers, which is the last thing we need in this shitty town. I hear footsteps, loud ones that echo off the stonework in the hallway. Hi, Finn. Stephanie. I suspect he knew I was here, but his shock is charming nonetheless. He looks at the girl, who throws him a decidedly wicked, wolfish grin, the picture of innocence.
Raven, are you being nice?
Of course her fucking name is Raven. The girl, Raven, shrugs, sidling up to him and resting her head on his shoulder. She rolls her eyes hard enough that I'm surprised they don't fall back into her skull. Yes, Dad. Okay, maybe Raven's then his fledgling and he's her sire? I don't know. They have a fun dynamic so far. Finn's face drops, his eyes narrowed. I get the impression that if he could blush, his cheeks would be the prettiest shade of pink. How character just sips so hard for everyone. I stifle a laugh, and with obvious delight, Raven notices. Raven. She laughs, the sound loud and obnoxious, but somehow still charming. She shoves him playfully, but Finn remains stern. Are you going to introduce me to your friend? The suggestive waggle of her eyebrows doesn't go unnoticed, and Finn sighs heavily, offering me an apologetic smile. Stephanie, this is Raven. I'm his kid. There's a low, exasperated rumble of a warning in Finn's throat, and I find myself enjoying the way he bristles in her presence. Finn throws her a death glare, and she proceeds to look guilty, but just a little. He raises a single dark brow at her, and after a quiet scoff, she enthusiastically steps forward and offers me her hand. It's really nice to meet you, Stephanie. This guy hasn't stopped gushing about you, so thanks for giving him something new to mope over.
I do not mope.
You kinda do. You're a vampire who's been around for more than 500 years. You are expected to mope. You are if it's not, you are a moper, you should be moping in one degree or another. Raven rolls her eyes and I finally take her hand. Her grip is firm and I wonder if she might be trying to unnerve me when her startling eyes widen exponentially. Hurt him and I'll eat you. Got it? I open my mouth to respond, but before I get the chance, she's laughing again. Finn looks mortified, and he carefully pries her hand from mine and ushers her towards the door. It's time for you to go, I think. Raven pouts, raising both of her hands in defense. I was joking, obviously. I like her already. She offers me a little wave and rises onto her tiptoes to press a kiss to Finn's cheek. He looks at her with unabashed fondness, a small smile creeping onto his lips. Go, say hello to Lux for me and be good. He runs his hand over her shorn scalp and she swats at him playfully, scoffing much like a teenager would at an embarrassing parent. I'll do more than say hello. Bye, Stephanie. He gives another disapproving rumble, and Finn almost looks like he wants to chase her to administer another pep talk, but he stops himself. And with that, she's gone, the door slamming loudly and shaking in its frame. Finn groans, running an iron hand over his face as he walks to grab the whiskey Raven had poured him. She's interesting. She's your... He sips his drink.
She's a pain in the ass is what she is. But I suppose she's my pain in the ass. I sired her, so she's my responsibility. She jokes about me being her father, but I suppose I am, in a way.
Oh. He takes a small sip of whiskey, savouring the taste for a moment before he speaks. Though, I prefer brother. Father just makes me sound so... old. His laugh is charming. Yes, old. She tends to look after me much more than I look after her. She's a good kid. I'd be lost without her. I nod, observing him quietly as he sets down his glass. Sire bonds are powerful, and it's interesting to observe such a casual, healthy dynamic. Did you choose to turn her? He frowns, shaking his head. Well, no, not exactly.
It's complicated, but I made a choice that I'll have to live with forever. Literally. I'd seen too many die at the hand of my sire. Something about her struck me. He planned to leave her for dead, but I couldn't let that happen.
You've such a good heart, Finn. He smiles and it's painfully earnest.
We're kindred spirits, I guess. As much as I have regret for cursing her with immortality, she's the closest thing I have to a family. Now, what brings you to my neck of the underworld?
He leans back against his desk. Truer words have never been spoken. I need you. He raises his scarred brow, his dark hair falling in his face as he turns to set aside his drink. You do? His smile has me rolling in my eyes, and I quickly try to distract myself. Let me rephrase that. I need your help. I have a plan, and I think you may be of use. He laughs, a raspy chuckle.
I'm all yours, Hunter. Do with me as you please. Just tell me where and when.
I know we've been making lots of jokes about only the tops are allowed to have top buttons, but he's said that line before. Maybe not directly at me, the Hunter, but a part of me thinks he has said that before. I clear my throat, the double entendre making my skin feel hot. He smiles and I know the bastard can hear the unsteady flutter of my pulse. Piper and I are going to attempt to break into the dungeons beneath HQ. His pointy ears flicker, almost flattening against his head before they put themselves to rights. He can't seem to mask his surprise, nor his apparent interest. The dungeons, He whistles, scuffing his boot against the stone floor. I can help you, but I may have a favor of my own to ask you if you're bold enough to venture down there. I narrow my eyes at him, contemplating if I want to tangle myself into yet another web. What is it? He pushes away from the desk, standing tall. Game, you can't just play with us like that. But they just keep doing it. And I mean, we thank them for it, but my heart can't take much more of this.
An important member of my clan has gone missing, and I'm positive that they have him. As I'm sure you know, any trust for the enforcers is wavering. I want my friend back. He's done nothing to warrant being thrown in a dungeon.
Okay, I'll look into it. His hands ball into fists at his side, his prosthetic flaring brightly before it fades into its usual dormant, dull glow. How do you know that they have him? I don't. They have an excellent defense system that prevents any of us from detecting him, no matter how close we manage to get. He would not just abandon us. He's either detained or dead, and if it's the latter, I just want to know. You're sure he wouldn't just leave? Your clan isn't like others. Maybe he wanted to change. He looks frustrated. He runs his fingers through his hair, leaving it messy.
Fiero wouldn't just leave. I know he wouldn't. I trust him more than anyone else in my clan.
Okay.
Even Raven. We both suffered at the hands of Levi for centuries. We were healing from that together.
Steph, I'm mildly worried about how many people we're taking to the dungeon. I don't think I have a full count, but I'm pretty sure you're taking more tops than bottoms, which can either be dangerous or very, very fun. I have a feeling everything's going to balance out a little bit with a little bit of magic thrown in. But you know what? We're having like the buddy system going on, and so everyone's like checking in with each other, making sure everyone's having a nice, safe time in the dungeon. I understand.
He was the only friend I had when I was with Levi, and he saved me more than once. I owe him this. If he's ash and bone in a forest somewhere, then so be it. But if he's okay, then I must save him. The only family creatures like me have are the ones that you find, so I intend to keep them safe as long as I can.
Oh, because I picked up on that, Hayden. Oh, thank God. If he said she went missing in the forest last night, we would have had to have an awkward conversation. Yeah, and then it turns out that little fight in the forest just like kills the romance stone dead, like she was. And then it's like, oh, she means the absolute world to me. She was like the first vampire I truly bonded with. And meanwhile, we're there just sweating bullets. Like, oh, good to know. Okay, ask about Fiero before we ask about Levi. Why do you think they would take Fiero specifically, if you're sure he's innocent? If you're so sure he's innocent. He shrugs, clearly quite confident in his theory. Because he's valuable. He's an empath, a powerful one. If he saw something he wasn't supposed to, or even if they just managed to overpower him and get him alone. I rarely let my clan members patrol by themselves, regardless of our supposedly stable relationship with the enforcers of this town. But I was stupid, and Fiero was a good sweet talker. He sensed someone in distress in the woods, so I allowed it. Therefore, if anything has happened to him, it's my fault. Finn prides himself on being the opposite of his sire, and I can see that this is eating away at him. You can't place the blame on yourself. You didn't know. Plus, if he is as valuable as you say he is, his eyes light up when they meet mine, his fingers twitching upon the surface of the desk. Then they could be using him, so he's still alive. I smile in return, tilting my head this way and that. Well-ish. He laughs, and I can't help but join him. So you'll check for me? I nod. I will. The information on Finn's sire is sparse outside of the fact that he was notorious and cruel, and I wonder how much a seemingly kind man could have followed him for that long. Call it morbid curiosity. Do you mind talking about him? About Levi? Finn grimaces, folding his arms across his broad chest. His posture loses its usual confidence. I suppose. I take a seat upon his bed as he pulls out his desk chair. The first thing I can think of to ask him is loaded, but I need to understand. Why did you stay with him for so long? He looks at me wide-eyed for a beat before he manages to formulate a response.
I don't know if I can answer that. I still truly do not know. He was good at making sure you had nothing left to go home to.
Ooh.
So he was all that I had. I'm not the kind of man who does well with loneliness.
Oh. A wry smile crosses his lips, but Finn looks impossibly sad. What did he take from you? He swallows thickly, casting his gaze to the side.
Everything. He took my fiancé, killed him right in front of me before he took my own life. I was an orphan, and I didn't exactly have many friends.
Oh, Finn, I'm so sorry.
Gabriel was truly all I had. He destroyed our home, all of our memories, even took my name from me. He took it all, and he did everything to make sure that I needed him. I followed him like a lost puppy for centuries.
Did you ever try to escape when you found others? He nods.
Many times. I had a few periods of freedom, but he always found me. He tended to collect vampires with abilities like Fiero and myself. Maybe to make up for the fact that, aside from his advanced age, he was truly unremarkable.
And now? He's dead, and you're free. You seem to be managing well for someone who's endured all of that. He sighs, rubbing the back of his neck with his iron hand.
I'm trying to shape myself into the man I always wanted to be, before the whole being undead thing. I try not to dwell on things that happened to me. I was bitter for long enough, but I cannot change any of it. All I can do is be the opposite of what he wanted me to be.
I smile as I observe him. I register how comfortable I feel in his home. The thought of stepping into a den of the clan before all of this would have set me on edge, but now... You're doing a great job, Finn. His mouth curls into an earnest grin. Thank you, Stephanie. I give you permission to kick my ass if I ever dare to step out of line. Duly noted. So, what is it that you'd like me to do exactly? Well, no one knows this town quite as well as you. I was hoping that you'd have some secret little passageway tucked away for me to use. There are wards and other nasty little tricks in place to stop people like you, like us, getting in. I'll worry about that. Now, about the passageway. His grin is wicked, and I think I have my answer. I'm your guy. Just say when, and I'll be there. If you need anything else, just come running. I bid Finn farewell, and now I only need to find one more friend. I saved the most stubborn till last. Alcar is waiting for me when I return to the wharf. It doesn't surprise me anymore when I catch his eye across the tavern, where he's been nursing a mug of ale, clearly pouting. That the pout disappears when he sees me surely counts for something, though the way his lips thin instantly makes me think perhaps not. He gets up, movement slow and deliberate, and I remain by the door for a moment, wondering if, hilariously, he's somehow trying not to scare me.
Took you long enough. Was wondering if the bad shit got to you.
Alcar grins suddenly, eyes gleaming and brow cocked. Or maybe the vampire got you, huh? Do you need something? Yes, actually. Alcar rubs the back of his neck and gives me a critical once-over, frown deepening. Then he glances behind his shoulder at the sparsely populated tavern. The 3 or 4 people lounging about seem deeply engaged with their own conversation, but I nod in understanding. My room? You're all ambitious. Alcar barks a short, scornful laugh.
So your superior can come knocking on the door and catch us? Not a chance.
Are you saying I'm trying to ambush you? He frowns at me, his tail flicking and then going still. His voice is low and steady when he answers. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm not keen on taking chances right now. Tell me you agree. As much as I loathe to abandon the promise of a horizontal, not-so-bare rock surface to lie down on, close my eyes and try to process the day, he's right. And if Alcar has any more information, any more at all, I want to hear it. I need to hear it. Alright, then, where? The woods. The deep dark woods where I stumbled upon a nasty youngling no more than a day ago? Alcar rolls his eyes.
Would you prefer the graveyard where those damn Woodridge twins can probably hear every word we say?
Fair point.
Not all of the woods are dangerous. I would know. I live there. Now, I ask that you trust me.
Okay, you know what? He brought me the sash. I know I should be more cautious, but at the same time, he brought the sash to me and he trusted me with it to give it to Ezra and not to August. So, I would trust him. I'm going to trust him. And thanks for the stretch check, Sam. Ah. Also, I'm just going to save quickly because I feel I haven't saved in a little while. I inclined my head in understanding and stepped aside, inviting him to take his leave through the door first. Alcar doesn't move immediately. He stays where he is, his arms crossed, and he regards me with a strange expression. It's not unreadable, but almost as though he doesn't quite know what expression he should be making. Is something the matter? You're one trusting motherfucker, aren't you? I scowl at him. You and your friends in this lovely little town aren't giving me a lot of choices. I expect another eye roll, a scoff, a dismissive wave. Instead, Alcar inclines his head, and there's something almost like guilt in his grimace. Let's go. Lunaris is a cold and lonely shell of its daylight form tonight, and I have to almost run to keep up with how quickly, though sure-footedly, Alcar moves through back alleys. The chill sinks into my bones, and unbidden, I wish I wasn't here. I wish I wasn't following a half-werewolf into the dark unknown towards more mystery. Omen's confession is still ringing in my ears, as do so many other things. Did you know that Omen is? Alcar shakes his head, his wolf ears flattening. Not here. Another turn and we've stepped beyond the town's boundary. Trees loom above us, moonlight flooding through the bare branches to afford us some light. Alcar leads me a little further away until the roofs of houses are barely visible, then turns to me.
A little while ago, I got into a fight with one of your hunters.
He jerks his chin towards the town.
Well, not one of yours exactly, I suppose, since you just got here and all, but one of theirs. Some bloke. Don't even remember his face all that well.
Alcar pauses for a moment, rubbing his chin almost nervously, his eyes narrowed, but then he shakes himself of it and continues.
It was during a full moon. I had an argument with my sister. Didn't go well.
He grimaces at the memory.
And when I transform, especially if I'm upset, my control isn't as good as it could be. But I know I didn't kill him. Would have damn well remembered that. If you ripped a man apart with your own claws and teeth. But when I came to, he knocked me out, I guess. You hunters and your annoying little gadgets. Your enforcer friends were already swarming over us like hornets. But there was no blood. Not mine, not his.
Interesting. That doesn't mean you didn't hurt him. Alcar gives me a look.
Okay, smartass. The point is that he vanished. Poof. The enforcers, dragged me off to their fun little dungeon and kept me there for fuck knows how long. A week, I think. Maybe more. And then they just poked and prodded me a bit. Then they let me go. Felt like they wanted to do more. Like they had plans for me. But maybe it was too dangerous to just snuff me, I guess. I know too many people. Ezra, Finn. But here's a question for you. What do you do when a creature hurts a hunter so bad, he apparently isn't walking around anymore?
I press my lips together. Nothing pleasant, I know that much. Assuming the creature in question was allowed to escape with their life at all. But sometimes they are let go. Marks that are too delicately tied to the order of things to be freely snuffed, as Alcar so elegantly put it. But surely if he wounded a hunter so terribly he would still have been in the dungeons. Perhaps Finn or Ezra parlayed for your release. But Alcar is shaking his head.
They didn't. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you hunters don't get retirement leave till you can't walk on two legs anymore. And even then...
Well, there are always prosthetics. Alcar barks a sharp, bitter laugh and shakes his head, but neither he nor I find humour in it, I know. He's quiet for a moment, running a hand through his hair, messing with his clothes, fidgeting, nervous. Hey, Shepper, how's it going? Welcome back. I step back a pace to let him collect himself. No use pushing him for anything now, not when he's already so open to telling me everything he knows. I didn't kill that hunter. I didn't. I wouldn't forget something like that, and enough to never do it by accident. Never. Alcar's frown is deep, but his words are as quietly fierce as they are pleading. He wouldn't open up and be this vulnerable with me unless he was really trusted me and told me the truth. I believe you. The words are easy to say and easier still that they're true. I know rationally and instinctively that Alcar tells the truth. And I'll make them believe it too if you like. Alcar stares at me in response. No clever words this time, just stares. Arms loose at his side, surprise evident on his face. He stares like he's never seen me before. Is something wrong? Huh? No, He looks away, scratching at his head. Then he chuckles, sounding so disbelieving it almost hurts to hear it, but at the same time so relieved. And I have to wonder how many people didn't believe him, not just about this, but about other things too. He mentioned a sister briefly, and that he had a fight with her on that night. He's never mentioned any family otherwise. Thanks. Alcar grins at me, and it's a lot less awkward than I figured it would be. You're welcome. I have another question. Were you aware that omen comes from hell? Alcar frowns at me, then squints, then snorts. Of course. Well, where else would he be coming from? The general store? I hope he doesn't hear the sound of my teeth gnashing as loudly as I hear it, but with the way his ears suddenly stand up in the cackle, I know he's seen something. I meant, did you know that he's the son of the literal devil? You're the one who didn't ask. You weren't giving me a chance to, as I recall.
And why exactly should I have told you? Oh, by the way, we've got a demon prince in town. He's easily spooked, but don't you worry about that because he's harmless. Like that would fly.
He pauses for a moment to consider his own words, then shrugs. That was his secret to tell, and he didn't have anything to do with the mess that's been cropping up around here. Besides that, including that fact. Besides, Ezra was the one who chose to offer him a place to stay, same as he offered to help me, help Finn, help anyone who so much as looked like they needed it. Omen came to his door asking for aid. Why would he be different than any of us? Than you, who he took in that night too. I can think of a few ways a hunter might be different from all those things, but I understand the spirit of it. Omen has good, loyal friends in this town. I understand. Alcar inclines his head in acknowledgement, his eyes sharp. It's more focused than I've ever seen from him. Good. Then he chuckles and leads away, signifying that the conversation is at an end. See you tomorrow. Where are you going off to so soon?
Back into my hovel before the big, handsome vampire comes to scold me about staying out in the cold. What else?
And excuse my nosiness, but you look like you've seen some hell yourself, not just the Prince of Hell. I frown. Am I that obviously rattled? But now that that's been said, I do feel the bewildering headache behind my eyes. Not from the ghost of James alone, but from, well, everything. Alcar is staring at me again, tilting his head this way and that and making a show out of squinting at me. Yeah, definitely look flawed. Fit for bed. Well, don't stray too far. I might need you tomorrow. I have a plan.
A plan, Well, don't worry too much. I'll be a stone's throw away, whether you like it or not.
When you need me, you need me. Until then, later. He disappears into the tree line, as sure-footed as ever, and once again I'm left alone in this damn forest. I begin to make my way back to the wolf, my mind reeling again, as it always seems to be these days. Although I feel hopeful, my plan seems plausible, a little team of misfit helpers I've managed to assemble more than capable of carrying it out alongside me. I think. I smile to myself, feeling a little lighter. Then, a rustle, something moving in the tree line a little too close to the edge of town for my liking. I'm just going to wait. Yeah, my gut's telling me I'm going to wait and see what it is. Or get a glimpse of it. And yeah, I'm going to save quickly. Good idea. Easy Blitz, thank you so much for the follow. You are now one of my lovely Lost Tales, and you are welcome at the Blue Rose Respite anytime. I hope you've been enjoying yourself. Okay. I'm going to... I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to wait. I stand my ground, quiet as I try to get a feel for what may be approaching. I can't get a read on its aura, but I know it's certainly not human. Then it lumbers into view. It's hunched over and misshapen, with long, gangly limbs that look out of place in its relatively normal-sized body. A single twisted horn grows out of his head, and I spot 3 eyes. The third seems new and underdeveloped, and it melts crudely with the existing left socket. It's covered in patches of scraggly fur and scales, and in some places its skin is entirely burned off, an amalgamation of mismatched parts and pieces that look like they don't belong. Hello, I've been watching your vids for a while. You're so talented. Oh, thank you so much, Easy. I'm so glad you're able to join for one of my streams. The cloudy gaze meets mine, and merely looking at it gives me a headache. There's this weak demonic aura that makes my body beg me to look away. Then something hits me, something that makes me hesitate to draw my weapon. I cannot place this feeling of complacency, of ease, and nor can I fight it. Is this how my comrades were killed so easily? Does it have some kind of power over us that makes us freeze, become immobile? Or is it the dull ache of familiarity that settles in my gut that makes me pause? The feeling that I shouldn't harm it, that it deserves empathy, mercy. It opens its crooked jaw, melded sinew and mottled skin stretching and splitting to reveal a set of violent, jagged teeth. My body screams at me to fight, but my feet are firmly planted and stuck to the forest floor. My fingers won't move, my weapon is still frustratingly safe in its holster. It takes a purposeful step towards me, with a low, rattling groan, its teeth bared. My heart races as I stare into its unfocused eyes, all 3 of them blinking out of sequence. There's a loud ringing in my ears, and I've never felt like this before. My instincts are screaming, pulsing, dying for me to do something. Anything. And yet all I can apparently do is stare down my bitter end. Then something washes over me, and in a split second I gain perfect blinding clarity. Run. James. The creature takes another step and howls, a broken, blood-curdling screech. Run. I listen. Run, run, run. Pick your route. Oh shit. You know what? We picked Finn for the festival. I'm gonna run to Finn because they know all the inner workings of the city and I'm safe in the catacombs. I'm going to go to Finn. As though my body already knows where I need to go, where I want to go, my feet carry me towards the catacombs. I don't look back, but I do hear the rustle of trees and the creature's maddening aura fading. It's heading back to the woods. The town is safe. For now. Okay, after this moment with Finn, I'm gonna call it a night, okay guys? Though I'm sure he's aware it's me, he still seems surprised when he opens the door and finds me in the dull light of the corridor. Stephanie, are you okay? His wide-eyed gaze brushes over me, and I can see him registering that something isn't right. He gently curls his fingers around my wrist and urge me inside when I don't respond, the door closing with a loud thud behind me. Strangely, I'm shaking, and I can't quite place why.
What is it? Who hurt you?
I'm rarely fearful of creatures, but this one shook me to my core. Something was off, too familiar. I saw it. Golden eyes meet mine, and the warmth they exude calms me in an instant.
Breathe. I've got you. Now, tell me. What did you see?
It's the reassurance for me. I shiver as my adrenaline fades, and in an absent-minded gesture he rubs his hands over my arms to try and warm me. The creature. I think I saw it. I couldn't move. It was like it paralyzed me. There was something that didn't feel right. Like I knew it. Like we were connected? His brow furrows and he takes a careful step closer as I reach for his arms. I hold on to him as if he might anchor me and make all of this feel real. I was drawn here, something magnetic pulling me towards him in a time of confusion. I've barely known him a week, but there's something about Finn that makes me feel safe and strong and wanted. We should go out there, see if we can find it. I can practically see the cogs turning in his mind, and as he moves to leave, I tighten my grip. I need him to stay. I want him to stay. I want him. Finn. In the warm light of his room, Finn's face has taken on an otherworldly quality. The way the golden shadows dance across his sharpened features makes me wonder how many people he's lured to their end. I wouldn't blame them, even if I'm drawn to him like a moth to a bright, bright flame, and there's truly no mistaking that he's not human. Deadly. And yet, another step closer, my heart a hammer in my chest, and was so close that I could feel his cool breath against my overheated skin. Stephanie. The unsaid longing, the desire that I feel when I'm near him, something I've tried to quietly snuff out, using the formalities of my position as an excuse. A creature, something I'm supposed to hunt, but he's the one whose presence has made me feel like I truly belong here. A comfort in all of this darkness and uncertainty. I'd mark myself a fool if I ignored such feelings. Everything could end tomorrow, and I'd never know. I know, right? It's like this cake was made for me. I tilt my chin in invitation, my chest heaving, and surely my grip would be bruising if he were human. He curls a cold fingertip at my cheek, and I know he's not reading my mind, but his next words are still everything I long to hear.
Can I kiss you?
Yes. 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 That's all it takes for Finn to press his cool lips against my willing mouth. He places a hand upon my hip and draws me close. The first kiss is quick, but it still lingers when he pulls away, his eyes desperately searching my face. I exhale sharply, a beat passing between us, then I kiss him with fervor, my tongue finding his between carefully parted teeth. Eventually I need to pull away to catch my breath, and I'm overwhelmed by how right this feels. He smiles when he realizes I need to breathe, giving me a moment to place a kiss against my jaw and trailing it back towards my mouth. I hold him close, pushing my hand over his spine, raking my nails across the dark fabric. I could feel his muscles shift and relax beneath my touch. Then a shared smile, and Finn kisses me hard, feeling the urgency that thrums between us, kick-starting something within me that makes my breath hitch. I hear a low growl, a rumble in his chest. It's a revealing noise, the kind that seems alarming at first, but that gives way to a approving, throaty groan. He carefully walks me backwards until I hit the door, and with unexpected complacency I find myself following his lead and sinking back against the wood. You have a thing with walls and doors, don't you? He makes a quiet noise. Sorry, it was the voice acting that caught me off guard. He makes a quiet noise. It sounds a little like a purr. I cannot resist reaching out to drag a hand along the pale plane of his exposed chest, and Finn is clearly drinking in the way my fingers feel upon his skin. He's reveling in the attention. We pause, forehead pressed to forehead, and the fathomless gold of his eyes burns into my own. My breathing is ragged, clawing free from the embers of my chest, and I smile. He sucks in a sharp breath, smiling and looking at me like I hung the moon. The words that roll off his lips are raw and honest, laid bare before me and washing away whatever hesitation I may have felt before this moment.
You were like a madness, one I'd happily succumb to.
Succumb to the madness. Succumb to me. This mission has been nothing but one mystery after another, but this he reveals gently and passionately. If someone did that voice request, I would say, fuck off, let me have this. We reluctantly part and Finn steps back, putting some distance between us. Though our fingers are still lazily entwined, the feel of him cooling my overheated skin. He smiles, turning and breaking our contact as he takes a seat upon his bed.
So,
maybe just a bit. I clear my throat, unable to wipe the smile off my face. His kiss lingers. You could say that. He looks up at me and I find myself caught by how beautiful he is. Tell me everything will be okay. He feigns contemplation, his gaze flicking to the side and then back to my face.
It will. You're smart and you're strong, and I consider myself lucky to be able to help you. Lucky to know you.
There's been so much uncertainty, but of him, I'm beyond certain. Grounded and stronger. And know me you do? He laughs, biting his bottom lip. His support makes me feel unstoppable, as does everyone else's. No longer am I alone in this. I have a family. Everything is going to be okay. Yes. Oh, we are saving, and we are leaving tonight on that note. Okay. I'm gonna save again because I'm paranoid. But that was just chef's kiss, romance perfection. Okay. The team who wrote this, they get it. Like, it's not overtly like sexy, but it's the thing about this is that it might get spicier towards the end, but it's being sensual and taking its time. And the fact that, you know, Finn, sexy vampire, like all these good things. But the thing that is like in that moment, he's like taking care of like the player character and he's making sure they feel grounded and assured before any kind of spiciness leads into it. Like, this game fucking gets it. And honestly, it was the art that drew me in immediately. I jumped onto this game purely for kind of like, I was drawn in by the aesthetics. But it's so good. It's genuinely so fucking good. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how much more of the game to go. We've still got to go. I feel like we're kind of easing towards the big reveal. So we've probably got 1, maybe 2 more streams before we kind of get to the end of the story. But I'm taking my time. I am savoring this game. And honestly, it's just genuinely so fucking good. Actually, Hayden, if you know kind of how much longer we've got to go in the game, message me privately on Discord, and then I could just have a good idea of like if it will be like 2 streams or 1 more stream. But honestly, this game is just so much fun, and during those spicier moments, I'm trying to keep my composure so that then you guys get to enjoy it a bit like a kind of spicy audiobook sort of thing. And then I kind of get to voice like my character's lines that they're kind of matching that same energy. But sometimes there's some lines from the voice actors that just kind of throws me for a loop, and I'm like, okay, I just need a minute to savor that. Oh, a slow burn tender romance just hits different. Cough, 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 Glash of the Green Fire, cough, cough. Like, for me, as much as, you know, I love spicy stuff. I love a lot of spicy stuff, especially like written like spicy books and stuff like that. But few things compare to a slow burn romance where it's just like the gentlest brush of fingertips, or it's like a hand against the jawline, or just like a longing gaze. Like, it's the Mr. Darcy hand flex after he helps Elizabeth into the carriage. That is like, that is just the absolute fucking best. But I think with that, we're going to wrap things up for tonight. So thank you all so very much for joining me tonight. If you've been lurking in the shadows and you like what you've seen so far, please consider following. We would love to have you back at the Blue Rose Respite. You're welcome anytime. Be sure to check out my other socials in the chat, including my 2 YouTube channels, one for my ASMR tales and the other for my Twitch VODs. I have a new chapter of Glash of the Green Fire, Embraced by Emerald Flames, was released yesterday over on my ASMR Tales YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. And be sure to give a lot of love to my other socials as well, including my Twitter, my Instagram, and my TikTok. I was going to post a public post about it tomorrow, but I'm actually planning on doing a kind of soft relaunch of my TikTok and put more effort into making shorter form like content, trying to record more videos and stuff for it. So if you have a TikTok account and you haven't followed me already, I would very much appreciate you checking it out. I'm planning on putting new videos out there very, very soon, but honestly, I'm trying to get more acclimatized with like new form, shorter form content and making like shorter videos as well, just to kind of keep activity and stuff like that between like the longer form things that I put on my YouTube channel and my Twitch streams as well. So if you could send some love to my TikTok, I would very, very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. But until then, I will see you guys next Friday for some more Resident Evil 4, and of course next week for the next set of chapters of When the Night Comes. But thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I just saw that there isn't anyone I'm currently following that's streaming at the moment, and we went a little bit overtime tonight, so I'm going to let you guys go so you can enjoy the rest of your evening, midday, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. But thank you all so very much for joining me, and remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And as always, stay wicked and wonderful. Good night, guys.